Good evening and welcome to the June 1st, 2026 night of annual town meeting. I'm moderator Adam Dash. Welcome to everybody online and everybody in the rooms. You could please take your seats and we will now be going to the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So, once again, our town clerk is going to now do the return of the warrant.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I am considerably shorter than you. I, Ellen O'Brien Cushman, Town Clerk, do hereby certify that I gave... Closer? Can you hear me now? Sorry, those are the words that I said years ago. Please don't ever say those, and I'm living proof that we all do it. Sorry. Thank you. I, Ellen O'Brien Cushman, Town Clerk, do hereby certify that I gave notice of the adjourned session of the annual town meeting held Monday, May 18, 2026, by posting an attested copy of the notice of the adjournment on the town clerk's official bulletin board in the town hall, on the town website, and at least 5 other places in town, giving notice that the annual town meeting had not been completed and had adjourned to meet again Monday, June 1, 2026, by hybrid means, both remote access and in-person participation, beginning at 7 p.m., briefly stating the business to be acted on, all in accordance with the Representative Town Meeting Acts of 1926 as amended and Section 30-110C of the General Bylaws of the town. And good evening again, everyone. Today, June 1, 2026 at 1:49 p.m., each town meeting member was sent an email from townclerk@belmont-ma.gov. That email describing the process we will be providing and providing the new access information needed for tonight's session of the annual town meeting. I recommend that you find that email and keep it at hand if for some reason you get logged out. In essence, this is an in-person town meeting and a remote town meeting at the same time. We do our best to merge them both together. Everyone in the middle and high school auditorium, as well as everyone joining remotely, will be voting using our electronic voting app, Point Solutions, provided by Echo 360. To cast votes, each town meeting member must log in to their Point Solutions secure site using their personal password and username authorized by the town clerk's office, and then enter the session ID. That session ID was provided only in the June 1st email, and it is a different session ID than we have used previously. It will not be announced, and it's not posted anywhere. Town meeting members should already be logged into their personal Point Solutions account by the time the session of town meeting is now called to order by the moderator. If you are using Wi-Fi here, please join as BPS guest. You will note that you've successfully logged into your device when it displays welcome and your first name. If you only see welcome, but you don't see your first name, you're not logged in and your votes will not count tonight. So please log in and then try again. Once you do see welcome in your first name, enter the session ID provided in that June 1st email. It's important to keep your Point Solutions account from going to sleep by tapping the screen occasionally if discussion goes on a long time with the app open. We ask the town meeting members sign in only to one device with their Point Solutions account at any one time. Please log out before signing in with a different device. When the moderator calls for a vote and opens voting, your Point Solutions voting app will display a miniature version of the big screen that's behind me. At that time, please press 1 for yes, 2 for no, or 3 for abstain as soon as you can. Your vote as received will be confirmed by display on your own voting device, with the bubble next to your choice or under your choice filled in with a raspberry color. That message confirms the vote has been received from you. After confirming on your personal device, then you may scan the list of town meeting member roster behind me for your name. The box with your name will turn from gray to turquoise on the roster recording a vote. Once you've located your name on the voting roster, it's always it's always in the exact same position on the big screen every time that we do vote. It makes it simpler to locate. And when we test our voting devices shortly, please take note of that location of your name on screen. Be sure to vote only during the time that the moderator has declared that voting is open. Once the moderator has closed voting, no additional electronic votes will be accepted. For this hybrid town meeting, we will not use a timer for voting. Instead, the moderator will determine when to close voting, giving all of us a 10-second warning. For those Belmont Town meeting members who are not logged into the Zoom or here in the auditorium, but are actually watching on Belmont Media, we will be watching to make sure that we account for any delay between the real time in the auditorium and the broadcast when voting is happening, to make sure we give you enough time to have a vote recorded. In the event that you are logged in to Point Solutions, but when the moderator opens voting, you cast your vote and your voting device does not appear to display confirmation of your vote and your name doesn't turn turquoise, you may then cast an emergency vote first, and then you should solve the technical problem. If you are in the auditorium after you vote, please make your way to the microphone, to make your emergency vote. If you're in the auditorium and need accessibility assistance, please do remain in your seat, raise your hand, and we will take a microphone to you. If you're on Zoom, raise your Zoom hand. In either case, you must wait for the moderator to recognize you in order to speak. He'll do so only after all of the electronic voting period is closed. When called upon by the moderator, state your name and your precinct. Moderator will ask you to state your vote, yes, no, or abstain. If an electronic vote has already been received for you, your voice vote will not be added to the final count. It is possible that your voting device has lost a connection or timed out. So before calling the IT support number, we do ask you to fully close out, as in log out of Point Solutions, then open it and log in again. If necessary, power off and restart your device. If it still doesn't work, then call the IT support phone number using the phone number I included in today's email, or go to the help table outside in the lobby here at the middle and high school to solve your voting problem before the next vote comes around. A town meeting member on the Zoom whose computer does not have a microphone may make comments or ask questions by typing the comment or question into the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. You may not use Q&A to cast a vote, and it is not a place for chat. A member of the town meeting team will represent you by joining the line on behalf of you by raising their Zoom hand, and when called upon by the moderator, announcing your name and asking your question for you. Likewise, a person who has a legal point of order may go to the microphone or stand in place, simply announcing point of order, and make their way to one of the microphones that are here and wait to be recognized by the moderator. Those on Zoom should type only the words point of order into the Q&A, and a member of the town meeting team again will immediately call it to the attention of the moderator. If there's already a point of order underway, we do ask that you wait for the moderator to dispense with them in the order that they are called upon. And now we will test our devices. So Matt, if you would be so kind, please bring up the test question, and we ask all town meeting members to vote. Click or tap your answer, and please watch for your choice to display on your device as a raspberry bubble, and then turn your attention to watch the scroll of names that the box has turned turquoise with your name in it. You may change your vote at any time during the time that voting is open by tapping in a different number, but please don't repeatedly tap the same number. You will notice that doing so will remove the raspberry vote confirmation, thereby canceling your vote. There's no need to announce you're having a problem or raise your Zoom hand. Those in the auditorium having trouble should go immediately to the lobby for help at this point. Others may contact the IT support line if you are joining by Zoom. Lastly, during town meeting, we will keep you apprised as to how many people are in the line in the auditorium with Belmont Media help, as well as from the moderator, and on Zoom with raised hands and the names of the first 3 people in line. When you hear your name, please accept the host invitation to unmute, state your name and precinct, and begin. Now, town meeting members who are recently elected, anybody here who has not yet taken the oath and needs to do so? Excellent. That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So first, we have a few announcements before we get underway. First of all, I want to thank our Beagle counter for this evening, Elaine Allagood. Thank you so much for doing that. Secondly, Payson Park Music Festival is coming up. There we go. So the Payson Park Music Festival is announcing its 36th consecutive summer concert series. As you may know, the Payson Park Music Festival completed its 35th season in 2025, and Senator William Brownsberger recognized the series as a testament to both community building and summer entertainment. This year, the festival will once again bring 12 Wednesday evening concerts and 4 children's concerts to Payson Park for the enjoyment of Belmont residents and neighboring communities. All funding for the series is donated. Expenses include musician payments, rental fees for Payson Park, insurance, videography for each concert. Concert recordings are available on our website at ppmf.org. Website maintenance, printing, weather-related rescheduling, and venue adjustments, and modest signage. The entire series operates on an annual budget of approximately $20,000 to $22,000, depending on the performances scheduled. None of these costs are supported by the town. Payson Park Music Festival looks forward to seeing you there, and donations are appreciated for this community building event. And to keep live music alive, please see www.ppmf.org. You can clap for the music festival, that's fine. Next, I want to announce that the Farmers Market is opening on June 4th. The Belmont Farmers Market opens on Thursday, June 4th at 2 p.m. You can join them for a brief ceremony at 1:40. It's always exciting to see the person dressed up as the tomato open it for the year. Please join, so highlighting how food assistance programs at the market and elsewhere help people stretch their food budgets. There's more information about that all day. Shopping with local farmers and other vendors is from 2 till 6:30. There are great family activities all afternoon. Oh, the tomato's not in the picture, but nice picture of Taylor Yates. All right, so, yeah. Next up is going to be, oh, sorry, if you want to do that one? Yeah, all right. So I just wanted to thank the Housing Trust for the fair housing training that was held recently. The slides for that and other materials are available on the town's website under the Housing Trust page. All committees and town meeting members should be very aware of the laws. This is what you can find if you go on the webpage that Matt's pulled up. So I would urge everybody to do that. And I hope those who attended learned a lot. So thank you for that. Next up, I'm going to be holding my next office hours tomorrow night on Zoom, 6:30 till 8 p.m. If anybody's interested, I wanted to make sure we got one in before town meeting ended. Kind of very creatively, it's a tinyurl.com/moderator office hours, but nevertheless, hopefully you can log in if you have anything you want to talk about in a more informal, unrecorded setting. That would be great. And let's see. Lastly, well, not lastly, next I want to admit 2 new people to the floor, Michael McGarrer and Neil Johnson, for the record. Finally, we have a slight change for the order of the articles, which I foreshadowed in the email that I sent out planning for tonight. As expected, Article 36, the number for that is not available for this evening, so we will not be able to take 36 up. So we will be taking Article 36 up on the 8th. So what I would like is a motion to move Article 36 from tonight, from the current order of the articles, which is after 35, to the order of the articles between 23 and 24. And I'd like to thank you for the motion. Second, take unanimous consent of that. Just checking online, seeing no opposition, that is what we're going to do. All right, great. Thank you so much. So next up, we're going to be hearing from our next new town meeting member who's going to be reading tonight, Mr. Curtis.
Brian Curtis, Precinct 5, moved that Article 1 be removed from the table.
I'll take unanimous consent, and thank you, Brian. That's Brian Curtis, Precinct 5. Let's give him a round of applause. So our report tonight is a legislative update from Senator Will Brownsberger. Senator.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Will Brownsberger, State Senator, Town Meeting Member at Large. So I began my service to this community as a young parent concerned about the quality of education and also concerned about traffic safety. As a legislator, I have, like all of you, remained centrally concerned to assure that the town of Belmont has the resources it needs to provide high-quality education and safe roads, as well as public safety and a good quality of life. So legislatively, this is a relatively good year from that perspective. Local aid is up by almost $1 million for the town of Belmont. It's 5 or 6%. The final figure is not quite set, but it will be at least 5%. And we are launching a review of our education aid methodology so that we can continue to grow education aid to meet evolving needs. Finally, I've been able to place $400,000 in earmarks for the town, $300,000 for the community path, and $100,000 for school textbooks. And Dave Rogers has also, I know, briefed you on the earmarks that he expects in the House budget. I've posted materials about these bread and butter issues at willbrownsberger.com, and including a full history of bread and butter legislative results for that Belmont Town Meeting materials down there at the latest results. So what I want to do tonight, though, is to talk about 3 specific issues: the form of town meeting, the community path, and transparency. During COVID, the legislature liberalized the use of virtual connectivity for all kinds of transactions and meetings, including many private transactions and meetings, as well as town meetings, other local government meetings, and legislative hearings and sessions. After COVID, several town meeting members came to me and expressed their need for continued opportunity to participate virtually. I worked to extend the COVID era authorization, and I altered the original authorization to remove the necessity of a health risk finding. So town meeting now has full flexibility to meet either virtually, in person, or hybrid. This authorization expires on June 30th, 2027, after the next season of town meeting. So there are 2 major competing approaches to making hybrid participation permanent. One approach would require guaranteed hybrid access, in which all local meetings, from town meeting to the smallest town committee meeting, would always be hybrid. The second approach is a flexible approach, which just says we'll trust town officials to choose the format that makes the most sense for a given meeting, whether that be in-person, hybrid, or fully virtual. The latter approach, the approach allowing local flexibility, is the approach embraced by the Home Rule petition in Article 15 before this town meeting, and it's an approach I fully support. There are strong adherents in the legislature to both approaches, the mandatory hybrid approach and the flexible approach, and that division is what has kept us from so far achieving a permanent solution. I do see many possible avenues for compromise, for example, requiring large meetings, like town meeting perhaps, to be in hybrid format, and then allowing flexibility on smaller meetings. I will continue to push for some kind of permanent solution. Next, I am deeply committed to completing the Belmont Community Path. It's been going on for a long time. We've got lots of work ahead of us. It has enormous benefits for the people of Belmont. It will create new, safer connections for both Waverly and Winbrook to our wonderful Concord Avenue campus, the high school, the middle school, the library, the rink, the playing fields, and it will create safer commuting connections for much of Belmont through to Alewife. And once we complete phases 2 and 3 and link up the path to the path that the city of Waltham has created, we will have a spectacular recreational asset. Much of the Massachusetts Central Rail Trail is already in place all the way out to Hudson, and we only need to complete our connection. So the Belmont Community Path is ultimately a state project. Although the town has responsibility for designing it and securing the right-of-way, the state is going to spend almost $50 million on this project. For the town, the hardest part has been agreeing on the route of the path. And I'm grateful to town meeting, to the select board, to the various community path committees, and to town staff for settling the path location controversy. From a project implementation standpoint, the tunnel from Winbrook over to the high school has created the most engineering challenges and controversy. Again and again, we've had to escalate disputes for resolution at high levels within MassDOT and MBTA. Most recently, it emerged that the final version of the tunnel construction approach will require an 8-day shutdown of the Fitchburg line. Mid-level of officials of the MBTA said no to this, and mid-level officials at MassDOT were prepared to defer the project to resolve the dispute or look for another approach. But the town's engineers had really done their work well, and they'd convinced MassDOT's senior engineer that the longer shutdown was the best approach. So we escalated the issue, and ultimately, MassDOT Secretary Phil Lang, same guy who was general manager of the T, stepped in to permit the shutdown. So at this stage, I see no state level barriers to this project going out to bid in July, and I'll remain alert for any emerging issues. And the town has just done a spectacular job on this. I mean, there's been so much great work done to get us to this point. All right, now when I want to turn to the question of transparency. When the question is transparency, the answer for me has to be yes. So transparency is, first of all, a political practice, the practice of speaking forthrightly about the issues that matter, listening to constituents, responding candidly to constituents, and then working hard to deliver promised results. That's what public service is all about. And I'll say Will Brownsberger is, by the way, willbrownsberger.com is widely recognized as a model for legislative communications. But citizens need to be able to investigate and understand public policy on their own. Public access to public information is a central priority for me. In 2010, I earned myself a windowless office, half barricaded by construction debris, on the 5th floor of the State House by challenging House leadership to make spending data available. Although as a rookie, I used a little too much vinegar and not enough honey, I did get the intended result. We reformed our procurement rules. Additionally, all state spending is now visible online. Legislative spending and executive branch spending up to date down to the last penny. I've continued to push for transparency year after year, creating visibility into the inner workings of state government, the MBTA pension fund, MBTA improvement programs, our environmental investments, our affordable housing investments, and our rules now assure that every kind of vote within the legislature is visible online. So most legislative records, votes, spending, the twists and turns of legislative drafting are already visible online. But I do support expansion, as has been proposed, of the public records law to cover the legislature. I also support production of documents for the state auditor. There are legal and institutional complexities. In particular, there are privacy issues for constituents. But when the question is transparency, the basic answer has to be yes. So we're headed into the end of our 2-year legislative cycle. The next couple of months will yield important legislative results. Most importantly, our package to protect Massachusetts residents from ICE overreach. So as your servant in the state Senate, I am always available and eager to respond, and I thank you for hearing my report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Curtis.
Brian Curtis, Precinct 5, move that Article 1 be laid on the table.
I will take a second for that. And I will take unanimous consent. Seeing no opposition, Article 1 is laid on the table. We will next move to our first order of substantive business. We're going to be taking up Articles 3, 4, and 5, which are all zoning articles. They are all 2/3 vote articles. And first, we're going to be starting with Article 3. Chair Donham.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thayer Donham, Chair of the Planning Board, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 5. Moved that the town approve Appendix 1 dated May 27th, 2026 to Article 3 of the 2026 Annual Town Meeting warrant.
Do I have a second? We have a second. Proceed.
I only have just brief remarks.
Can I introduce yourself again?
Oh,
Sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Moderator, Thayer Donham, Chair of the Planning Board, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 5. Chris Ryan is going to come make the presentation, but before he begins, I just want to thank him for all his hard work on all of the zoning amendments and the great job he did in incorporating public comments, even up till last week. And in addition, I'd like to thank Matt Taylor for summarizing these 3 amendments in the annotated warrant in a very clear manner. So thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. Tonight, we have a presentation on all 3 warrant articles, starting with Article 3, but I will just talk about Article 3 first, obviously. Next slide. So the background and rationale for what we're doing here tonight is that we're committed to bring bylaws for design and site plan review and construction management that we promised when we passed the center zoning. So we're here tonight to do that. We're starting out with Article 3, which is the design and site plan review bylaw, which essentially replaces Section 7.3 of the zoning bylaws that we have in place right now. Article 4, again, when we get to that, is the construction management. And Article 5, we have some new uses for veterinary use that we'll talk to you about. So next slide. So the purpose of Article 3, design and site plan review, is to enhance and refine the development review process. Right now, our site plan review section is relatively short. It's relatively uncomplicated, but it's really intended for a community that really didn't use it that much. Since we intend to have more by right uses, we thought it was a really high time that we brought some modernization to this section to make it more clear and more understandable and more reflective of dealing in an efficient way with site plan review cases. It does provide a more clear and robust process for the by right development. It categorizes reviews by type and scale of project, not just everything in the same catch-all. And it streamlines the process for predictability, but also introduces a structured pre-application review step. And then we've applied rules and regulations that will have been developed to provide processes and procedures, administrative guidance for all these cases as well. Next slide. This slide is an example of something that we posted online that shows the current Section 7.3 compared to what we're proposing and the change of policy implications. We have a lot of different topics here. I'm not going to go over them, but just one example is that the pre-application process currently is just, if somebody wants to talk to us about their application, they can make an appointment. They can talk to us and we talk to them in an informal way. We can still do that, but now we have a very specific set of pre-application steps that the applicant will go through. That's not just if they want to, they can talk to the department. Now we have a step for a design review team that we're creating a staff level team that will help the applicant make sure that their application is as strong as it possibly can be. Next slide. Another example is the review standards. Right now, we have a mix of required and optional criteria, but we're actually enhancing that to very specific enumerated criteria. It's more clear, it's more objective, it's more robust. Next slide. This slide really essentially is intended to show you the timeline for each of the levels. We have 4 different levels in site plan review now, starting with level 1, which is administrative. Level 2 is a minor site plan, level 3 an intermediate, and level 4, which is a major project. Each of these steps, each of these different levels has criteria that determines where it fits into that level. We want to make sure that we can give predictability to the town and to the applicant to make sure that they know how long it will take to get through this process. We think we've put something together that, again, is a very thorough review process, but doesn't take up an inordinate amount of time and is predictable. So essentially, the longest we would expect an application to go through the process without an extension would be about 135 days for a major project. Next slide. This is an example of the table of project applicability by level. It's not the whole table, but it just gives you an example of showing what types of projects are contained in each of the levels. For example, new buildings or substantial improvements from 2,500 to approximately 10,000 square feet are in level 2. It requires a public meeting instead of a public hearing. And so we expect that those are going to be relatively efficient as well. Next slide. So just a summary of what Article 3 is supposed to do. The planning board feels that they wanted to strike a good balance between providing efficiency and fair reviews for applicants and also the protection of the community. And we feel that it's been met by this amendment. By right development through design and site plan review does not mean they just get what they want. They have to go through a robust site plan review process with the planning board, with hearings. And so we feel that this is a good way to scale up projects that fit those areas that are associated with a specific project type and size. We have a pre-application review process, which is intended, I think I kind of touched on it initially, but really it's intended to help the applicant prepare a complete application to get them to make sure that all of the bylaw requirements are included in their application once they finally make it. And also for the larger projects, give an opportunity for the public actually to see it before it even gets to that application stage and the public hearing opens. And then finally, the rules and regulations that the planning board is going to adopt shortly for design and site plan review are essentially administrative and procedural enhancements to make sure that the applicant knows exactly what steps they need to take, what exactly they need to submit in terms of the materials, the plans that they need to submit, the other documentation, reports that they might have to actually submit as well. We want to make sure that that's all very clear and spelled out in the rules and regulations. So next slide. I think that's it. Yep, that's it. So we'd be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Okay, so now we're open for discussion on Article 3. Microphone A, then B.
Liz Allison, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3. And I have three concerns about this. The first is that, my reading was that under 2,500 square feet, there's only administrative review by town staff. 2,500 square feet, let me put it like this. I live in a house that's 1,300 square feet. So this is a pretty big house. This is a pretty big addition, number one. Number two, in single residence A, where the lots are 35,000 square feet, 2,500 square feet isn't a big deal. But in general residence, it is where the lots are under 4,000. Your neighbor is adding 2,500 square feet is a big deal. So I'm concerned about, I appreciate the structure, the restructuring to reflect the complexity of the project, but there's no structure to reflect the various conditions in the various zoning districts. And finally, I understand that there's rules and regulations and criteria for that the planning board must use. I did not see the criteria for the purely administrative review. And it's uncomfortable to look at a plan, if I'm correct, that presumes all virtue in the town administration and a great need for rules for the citizen boards. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone B.
Angus Abercrombie, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 8. Can we get the votes?
Get a what?
Get the votes from the Planning Board,
Sorry,
Select
yep.
Board? Before I...
Thank you. I'm assuming we've got one from the planning board.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thayer Dunham, Chair of the Planning Board, Town Meeting Member Precinct 5. And just to cut to the chase, we unanimously recommended favorable action on all three zoning.
Select board.
Matt Taylor, Chair of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member at Large. The Select Board recommends favorable action unanimously 3-0.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank
for
you, Mr.
pointing that
Moderator.
out, sir.
Angus Abercrombie, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 8. I just want to raise that something that we've heard, I think, time and again, looking at various projects and various zoning ideas in this town, is that developers are very concerned about timelines. It's the amount of risk in terms of inflation, what things are going to cost a year from now, if that's how long a project permit takes. And one of the really solid things in Article 3 is that it seeks to bring our timelines in line with surrounding communities, if not shorter than surrounding communities, while still preserving a level of due diligence for these projects. And that can serve a really key role in making the developments that we need to improve revenues and support a growing population, bring down the costs for residents, viable. So I support this for that reason, especially that we can make timelines shorter and make more development viable. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone A.
Kathy Cohane, Precinct 2. Appreciate all the hard work on this by everybody. I have a question. If you could just clarify, Chris, where in the process would I see schematic drawings? So what step in the process, and would those be required for all of the size and scope of the projects?
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. So there would be various places depending upon the scale of the project. So for example, level 2, 3, and 4, which are intermediate, minor, and major projects, typically you're going to have a pre-application public meeting. And in that public meeting, the applicant is going to show schematic drawings of the site plan, and they may also be required to show elevational designs of the building itself, okay? Then after that, we will have a public hearing for levels 3 and 4, a public meeting for level 2, and all of that will be, as we do now, uploaded online for the residents to look at.
Okay, great. Thank you. Just, to emphasize, those drawings, I think, are what make it real for many of us. So critically important that we have those as early in the process. I'm glad we're planning for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone A. I would note we have no hands up online, even though we have 110 attendees.
Thomasine Olson, Precinct 5. First of all, I want to say, Chris, I know you have done a tremendous amount of work on this, but my concerns are somewhat related to what I see around town. And to put this is pretty complicated. Maybe somebody else understands everything, but I'm sure we will be getting to look at the details as time goes by. But my concern is the planning board puts into place things that the town has to oversee. And right now, it seems like the town doesn't have the staff to do I'm sorry, that's way too loud. The staff to even oversee the things that are going on. And I speak to something which is totally out of scope, the corner of Bartlett Ave and Jonathan, where there's a huge fence now, which causes people to not be able to see around the corner. And if the staff don't have time to oversee that, probably you're going to say that follows in scope, but that a lot of, not in scope, that follows some sort of tradition. Maybe the fence isn't overly high and it fits. But I see planning for buildings that help make this town easier to navigate, make this town feel like a community. And I just don't know how you're going to be able to manage all of this. That's not saying I won't vote for it. It's just saying I'm just offering my concern. So.
Thank you. Microphone B.
Anne Marie Lambert, Precinct 2, Town Meeting Member. Mr. Moderator, we didn't hear a response to Member Allison's remarks, and in particular, my understanding of the text of this article is that single and double family homes are excluded from this. So a scenario where my neighbor was adding a very large addition would not be in scope for this article. Could I get clarification on that?
We're not going to get into details over specific projects, but if you have if there was a question you wanted,
This is not a specific project. It was at least to me, just a generic, if anybody in town had a neighbor who was adding something under the.
No, understand.
wall,
Yeah, in a hypothetical fashion, sure. Ms. Berberian?
Carol Berberian, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 7, member of the Select Board. So most of the residential items that Ms. Allison was referencing would be covered under section 1.5.4 of the zoning bylaw, and that requires a special permit. It's not a design and site plan review. So special permits are touched in this only where it's a special permit and a design and site plan review. So the majority of those projects, I believe, would be excluded and still be going through the normal processes that stand as they are.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to do microphone A, then we're going to go online to Corinne McHugh Olmsted. Thank you.
Emily Peterson, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. Is there an environmental review process that's part of these steps, or is that covered elsewhere in the process?
Mr. Ryan?
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. Yes, so there is a portion of the design and site plan review findings criteria that is environmental. We'll look at stormwater, we'll look at any other environmental criteria that is relevant. It may also include whether it's a site that has been dumped or something on as well. So we do have those specifically called out in that. In addition, if we need to have peer review consulting, and this goes for every technical aspect of the bylaw, if we don't have the expertise in-house to handle that criteria, we have the ability to get peer review consultants paid at the expense of the applicant to come in and help us with that.
Okay, just as a follow-up, so if this had been in place prior to the Belmont Hill parking lot situation, would that have required an environmental impact then if this was in place?
Mr. Ryan, if you had to introduce yourself.
Yes, Chris Ryan, Planning and Building. I wasn't here for that, so I really didn't know the specifics of that application or how it proceeded through. It's possible, but maybe somebody else was here that could have answered that.
Yeah, Member Berberian?
Carol Berberian, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 7, member of the Select Board. So with Belmont Hill in the parking lot, there was an environmental concern with an abutting area, but they had to comply with all of our bigger environmental regulations. So it wasn't anything that went beyond that scope, and the Conservation Department didn't weigh in because it wasn't a direct impact. But similar to any of our zoning, you still have to abide by building code, and you still have to abide by any environmental protection regulations that stand. Thanks.
Thank you. Online, Corinne McHugh Olmsted.
Thank you. Corinne McHugh Olmsted, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. Chris mentioned, and in the document, it lays out the different levels of required process for the different levels of review. Level 1, just administrative design and site plan review being no process. Level 2, minor design and site plan review, public meetings, and then level 3 and 4 requiring public hearings. Level 2 requiring a public meeting has applicability to, among other things, developments that will add between 3 and 5 dwelling units, developments including substantial changes to buffering, screening, ingress, egress, utilities or drainage, installation of fences, walls, or permanent accessible ramps, etc. And this level 2 review requires a public meeting as opposed to a public hearing. So for the benefit of town meeting, could you just explain the difference between a public meeting and a public hearing?
Yes, Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. So a public hearing is a meeting that is noticed in the newspaper in 2 consecutive weeks. Requires a formal notice that is a legal ad, essentially. And it follows a specific process during the public hearing section when it's opened by the planning board. It's opened by the planning board. There's the information that's brought to bear by the applicant. The board has a discussion. There is public comment. The hearing is closed, and then a vote can be taken after the hearing is closed. A public meeting is a same situation with the planning board. It's noticed on the application, or not the application, but the agenda. So it's advertised on the agenda. And then it's essentially the same kind of format where the planning board will allow the applicant to speak. They'll have deliberation with the planning board, and the planning board may allow the public to speak as well. So it's very similar. It just doesn't have the legal notice requirement that the public hearing does.
And just for clarification.
Sorry, Town Council wanted to say something? Mr. Ryan, anything else?
Yes, I've been told by council that in the public meeting, abutters do not get notification. They would need to find out through the agenda that the meeting is taking place.
Thank you. Ms. Olmsted?
Okay, so for clarification, the main differences sound like in a public meeting, the abutters do not need to be notified, and the planning board does not have to allow public comment. Is that correct?
They typically don't have.
Mr. Ryan, can you
They
introduce yourself?
Yeah, Chris Ryan, Planning and Building. They often do allow it, though.
Thank you.
Chair Donovan?
Chair Donham, Chair of the Planning Board and Town Meeting Member Precinct 5. What I would say is we try to get applicants to meet with the butters, preferably not in a hearing or meeting situation, but in a more informal basis, just to run through what they're proposing, ask questions, find out what's going on. We have found lately people are reluctant to do that, so we were trying to introduce a way to make sure the neighbors could hear about things and we could bring out some of the issues before we're in an actual hearing situation.
Thank you. Ms. Olmsted, anything else? Hands down. Okay. Microphone A.
Jean Mooney, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 6. Mr. Moderator, I wanted to understand earlier there was the chart that from simple to more complex, and there was a time cost of number of days, but there wasn't actually, this gets back sort of a little bit to Ms. Olson's comment, of personnel costs. So I'm wondering whether or not if the more complex an application gets, is there a differentiation in the fee? I know that there are building permit fees when I get a project and I say, well, it's a $200,000 project and it's $15 or $1,000. That's a building permit fee. But for these application fees, I think it's only like $175. But so cut to the chase here. I'm just trying to understand whether or not somehow the town is getting some fees to pay for these levels of high level of review.
Mr. Ryan?
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. Yes, so along with the revision to the bylaws and the rules and regulations, we're looking to revise our fee schedule as well. And the fee schedule will be based on basically a square footage basis. So it's a certain number of dollars per 1,000 square feet. So yes, project size will actually turn into a larger application fee. Again, we also have the ability to do the peer review consulting. And so we will actually go out to bid or find 3 bids for example, a engineering firm that might look at traffic analysis. We will have them do that. It wouldn't be the staff that would do that, but we would incorporate that information in our reports.
Just to follow up
Sure.
on the bill, so I'm glad to hear that you're
Can you
reviewing.
introduce yourself again?
Oh, G. Mooney, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 6. I hope this is still within scope. So on the building application piece, I think that you're reviewing, is there any type of audit that if I say my building is $200,000 and it's really a $500,000 project, I know this has gone on because I've looked at things in town, and I think there's low-hanging fruit that the town is missing. So how do we square up what an applicant says their building's going to cost and what it actually cost?
Mr. Ryan?
It's a great question. Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. So recently we have engaged a process where we ask the applicant after the project is completed to provide us with a final accounting of costs. And if there's a difference between their original estimate and the final accounting, we will ask them to provide additional fees to cover the difference.
Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone A.
Hi, Wendy Edkind, Town Meeting Member Precinct 3, and I'm on the Economic Development Advisory Committee. I'm here in support of this article. This was a leftover from the overlay project, and as promised, the town is now bringing this to us, and I think efficiency is good. I think clarity is good. My question is, do we have a comparison of what it takes today to get a typical permit approved with town staff, town cost, ambiguity? You know, can we do a comparison of what it is today compared to what it would be underneath this Article 3 if it was to be approved?
Mr. Ryan?
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. I don't have that specifically counted out for you, but I can tell you that right now it's closed-ended essentially in terms of an application. You know, we could take many, many months to go through an application and approve it. Right now, we're putting specific guardrails on that to say we will finish at this time after these number of days. Essentially, it's an expedited permitting process without the name. And so what we do is we make sure that we can do that robust review in that period of time. And if they need obviously an extension, they can ask for it. But we think that this is a more clean, more efficient, more timely process. Yes, there are pre-application steps that sort of push it on the other side. But again, they haven't made their application yet. So the idea is to make that application more complete once it gets there. If you're interested, let me know and I can try to calculate it out for you and let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, EPBJR Online has their hand up. Could you please identify yourself?
Hi, this is Ed Barker, Precinct 2. Sorry for the abbreviated name on the screen there. Chris, thank you very much for the work you've done with regard to providing specifics around timelines and levels of review and stuff like that. And as I'm listening to this, I have 2 questions. One is, do we as a town and your office specifically have the capacity to deliver against these very precise timelines proposed, assuming we get higher levels of interest in developing projects here in town? So A, do you have the capacity and the ability to meet these timelines? And B, what happens if we don't, right? What happens if we haven't completed the review that we say we need to do within 60 days? What does that mean for the proposal? Does it automatically go through? Does it automatically get rejected? What happens?
Mr. Ryan?
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. Ed, that's a very good question. Right now, our planning office has 2 highly capable professional planners. It's been a while since we've had that capacity. And I would say that given the fact that we were able to do reviews of larger projects like McLean Zone 3 and 4, and also White Street. I think that we can do it. Obviously, what has to happen during that time is we have to put a lot of time and focus and energy on those reviews and those applications. One thing that I think will help us is the fact that we now are going to have an online permitting program called OpenGov. And OpenGov actually has a workflow that pushes the project along. For example, if we're asking the DPW or the police department, they're going to be involved in these reviews as well. They're going to have an opportunity to review the project and check off a box, and it moves forward. So I think all of those things, the professional staff that we have, the fact that we do have this upcoming permit tracking system, and there's going to be another technology opportunities through GIS and some of the other things that IT is doing to help us along with that. So I'm very confident that we can do it. What happens if we don't? We'll make it work. If we have to, we will get consulting to assist us to get through it. But I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Just to follow up, if I may, Ed Barker,
Can you
Precinct 2.
identify yourself again, please?
Yep, Ed Barker, Precinct 2. Just to clarify then, the bylaw does not specify any particular remedy or response in the event that we do not meet those timelines. Is that correct?
There isn't, but sorry, Chris Ryan, Planning and Building Director. It's prescriptive approvals. I mean, that's the way most items that are in bylaws in communities for site plan review, special permits, some communities that have, for example, subdivision regulations. It's that prescriptive approval means that if you play out the clock, it's automatically approved. We won't let that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Town Council?
Mr. Moderator, Mina Macarius, Anderson Krieger, Town Council. I would just add to that last point that in many other communities that do have these timelines, one of the other tools is the ability to continue hearings with the permission of the applicant. And while that seems to be in the control of the applicant, in fact, applicants are often willing to do that to avoid an appeal on a condition or to be able to hammer out the project as permitted. So there's also that flexibility that's inherent in the bylaw.
Thank you. Microphone B?
Steve Kleonsky, Precinct 6. Question, Mr. Moderator?
Yep.
To Mr. Ryan. Mr. Ryan, how does this compare to other towns? Is this model been used elsewhere? Have you modeled this based on other communities?
Mr. Ryan?
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. Yes, we actually did a lot of research in terms of what other communities are doing. Many of them don't call it level 1, 2, 3, and 4, but yes, they do have administrative, minor, intermediate, and major site plan review. We looked at communities like Lexington, we looked at Arlington, we looked at Watertown and other communities as well. And we tried to take the best practices from each of those and blend it into something that was uniquely Belmont.
Thank you.
Thank you. There are no people at the microphone. There is nobody with their hand up on Zoom. I think we're ready to vote. So, Article 3, Mr. Haskell. We're going to be going to a vote on Article 3, amend zoning bylaw, Section 7.3, design and site plan review and approval. You can open the voting. So voting is now open. Please cast your vote. Remember to press 1 if you are in favor of Article 3, 2 if you are opposed, and 3 if you abstain. If you have trouble and need to cast an emergency vote, please make your way to one of the microphones and wait for me to recognize you, or Meg has a portable microphone here if you have trouble doing that. Likewise, if you're joining on Zoom, please raise your Zoom hand. I'm sorry, yes. Mr. Dukas.
Ted Dukas, Precinct 6. I vote in favor.
Let's vote yes, Mr. Dukas. Thank you. Yeah, we're gonna just wait till we get through that. Repeating on me, yeah. Waiting for Belmont Media.
Kicked a bunch of it out.
Yeah.
Can you just like keep it open a little longer? Like I had to re-log in, but I can. you can
It's
just-
still open online.
No, it just booted me. I voted it earlier and it went and closed. So I just look at.
Hmm. I'm still on. I don't know if anybody else having the problem.
Yeah, so just.
Yeah,
give us
try
an
that.
extra
We'll leave it open.
Okay.
Just let us know if you turn the aqua blue, whatever color it is. Yes. Excellent.
Like find that.
Great. Thank you. Never underestimate the power of turning it off and turning it back on again. Okay, we're going to close the voting and take the emergency vote. So hold off on showing results. Yes. Microphone A.
Leslie Aiken, Precinct 2, yes.
Yes. Thank you. Microphone A.
Emma Thurston, Precinct 1, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Lisa Pogoli, Precinct 4, no.
So no.
Helen Bakeman, Precinct 4, yes.
Yes. We have online Joe Wright.
Joe Wright, Precinct 1, yes.
Online Roger Debo.
Roger Debo, Precinct 1, yes.
Microphone B.
Samantha Burge, Precinct 2, I vote yes.
Yes. Any other emergency votes? Okay. Okay, please show the results. So that is 218 in favor, 12 opposed, and 5 abstentions, including the emergency votes. So that is more than 2/3, and Article 3 is adopted. Yeah. So I'm being told that it's a 216 yes and 12 no and 5 abstentions. Nevertheless, it is 2/3. So thank you very much. We now move on to Article 4, amend the zoning bylaw, add construction management. Ms. Chair Donham.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thayer Donham, Chair of the Planning Board, Town Meeting Member Precinct 5. Move that the town approve Appendix 2 dated May 27th, 2026 to Article 4 of the 2026 Annual Town Meeting warrant.
Thank you. I have a second. Okay, we have a presentation. Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. So Article 4 is something, again, that we had promised to bring forward after the center zoning. We had heard a lot from business owners in the center and others who were concerned about the impacts, the potential impacts of construction. So we had been working on something prior to that, but this was an opportunity really to bring it forward and to put something together that was really comprehensive to protect business owners, protect residents, travelers through the area, and other stakeholders. So the purpose of Article 4 essentially is to manage construction impacts from moderate size to large size projects, 10,000 square feet of construction or more. It establishes clear and consistent requirements for the management of construction projects to minimize negative impacts to neighbors and businesses. And I'm sorry, I'm looking down here, but this is where my notes are. And then we also have rules and regulations that have been developed to provide process and procedure and administrative guidance for these as well. Next slide. A little bit more detail. Again, it applies to larger projects. Requires a construction management plan to be developed. This is a plan that's requirements are laid out in the rules and regulations in terms of what has to be in that construction management plan. Traffic and parking coordination, construction logistics, timing. If the project is a certain size, there must be phasing. Where are they going to put their equipment? Where are they going to have their employees and construction people park their vehicles to make sure that they don't take spaces up that are critical for businesses in the area. Also, ongoing coordination with the town. There will be a town liaison for construction management that will be designated. This person will be the point person for any complaints, any concerns. They will bring together the construction meetings that will take place as well. So there will be an individual in which that can always be looked to answer questions about construction management. The plan will also potentially evolve. If anything is determined through the process that there needs to be changes, they can be made during that period of time with the construction management team that's put together. So we can pivot fairly quickly and make sure that those adjustments are made. So that's essentially what we have. The goal is really to reduce disruption to residents, to businesses, and to others who use whatever business area this applies to, because this is more than just the center. This applies to any construction project that goes through site plan review that's 10,000 square feet or more. And I believe that is it. So again, I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Floor is now open for debate on Article 4. Votes. Thank you. Select Board? Yeah, Select Board.
Matt Taylor, Chair of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member at Large. The Select Board unanimously recommends favorable action, 3-0.
Okay, I believe the Planning Board already gave that vote, so microphone B.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mark Palillo, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 8. Chris, this is a really good article and good change in the bylaw. Could you please elaborate on the oversight and provisions for enforcement if a contractor does not abide by this construction management plan, please?
Yes. So we have enforcement mechanisms already in place in the zoning bylaw, and they would include these provisions. So we have the inspector of buildings and our code enforcement officer that would be on top of that and go out on site and possibly do a stop work order if necessary. So yes, if it requires a stop work order, they can be issued, can be shut down.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Microphone B.
Hi, Chris. Bill Anderson, Precinct 2. Mark kind of stole my thunder there, but will we be putting these requirements specifically in the contracts with the construction manager or whomever we're contracting with? Or will we just leave it at sort of the bylaw level and tell them about it?
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. No, they will be made a condition of approval in every decision document that's made that requires that.
Okay, and those decision documents would include pay applications?
Say that again.
Would those decision documents include pay applications, pay apps? Getting paid, yeah. The contractors submit a pay application to get paid.
Mr. Ryan?
Would we have to show compliance? Would they have to demonstrate compliance, or somebody would have to sign off that they've complied with all of that? Are we gonna put a financial penalty here or withholding within the contract?
Mr. Ryan, I believe Town Council wants to respond to this. Town Council?
Mr. Moderator, Mina Macarius, Anderson Krieger, Town Council. So just to clarify, these would be conditions for private projects with private contractors.
Okay.
So certainly the private property owner could do that as a way to make sure that their contractor isn't running afoul of the conditions. The town could do that in town projects as it normally would be able to, but the reason it's enforceable as a permit is because this is a way for the town to enforce
Okay.
without, because it won't have a contract.
So it applies to town projects and then private projects, which the town simply approves okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone A.
Meg Moriarty, Precinct 2 School Committee. I don't know if my question is for Mr. Ryan, Ms. Garvin, or for one of the select board members. With these additional rules and regulations, do you have any concerns that this will deter people from coming in and wanting to build? As somebody who would like to see more revenue brought into the town, I don't know. So I'm just asking this question if this is something that you all think is going to deter any of that development.
Mr. Ryan.
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. It's a great question. We certainly don't want to suppress development. What we're trying to do is we're trying to professionalize our reviews and to make sure that the town is protected reasonably. So I think that in many ways, if we have larger projects, if you review some of the decision letters that have been written for the larger projects in town, whether that's McLean Zone 3 and others, you'll see that there are construction management provisions that are included in there. It's just that there wasn't a bylaw that guided that process. So now we have the specific criteria that needs to be met for construction management. We don't think it's in excess of what other communities do for projects that are similar. So we think it's going to be reasonably accepted by the development community.
Thank you. Next up online, Corinne McHugh Olmsted.
Thank you. Corinne McHugh Olmsted, Precinct 1. Just one question. Will this apply to construction of the community path?
Mr. Ryan.
That's a great question. Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. So we'd have to see whether the criteria is met in one of the 10,000 square feet is a development. I'm not sure if we have that specifically for a transportation type project. So I actually can't answer that question right now. But if it does, I don't think it would be unreasonable.
Thank you. We're going to microphone B, then go back online to Darren Muction.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Stephen B. Rosales, Precinct 8. A question that would apply to all three of these articles, 3, 4, and 5. Whichever one passes, 3 has already passed, but when would they become effective? They become effective tonight on passage? Do they go through the Attorney General? Is there a waiting period? My memory was on the Belmont Center, they didn't come effective until a date certain.
Town Council?
Mina Macarius, Anderson Krieger, Town Council. Zoning bylaws are a bit odd when it comes to effective dates. They technically take effect tonight if approved by the Attorney General, which happens sometime in the next 90 days. Actually, to be very precise, they take effect when this town meeting closes and the period for a referendum because it's a representative meeting closes. However, some of the provisions that have to do with building or building at risk could happen before. Long story short, because there's no use provisions here, and this is a zoning bylaw, it has to do with how construction is managed. The effective date would be tonight, but realistically, because the Attorney General has to have time to process it, there will be a transition period where the town has to implement these.
So Stephen B. Rosales, Precinct 8. So if there was, even hypothetically, I don't know what's in the queue, but let's say there were some projects in the queue right now, applications, and then these pass. So what would be the status of that? Am I to now understand that if these pass, they're effective tonight and could change those, and then subject to the Attorney General in 90 days and go back?
Yes.
Council.
Mina Macarius, Anderson Krieger, Town Council. If there's a project in the queue and it was the application for, it didn't have any protections because it didn't have any zoning permits before the date of the hearing notice. This is a complicated area under Chapter 48, Section 5. It would apply to them, And what most project proponents of larger projects have to figure out when that's the case is how to proceed at risk. Because these are all about the section, Article 3, which already passed, has to do with the type of review. The planning board would have to figure out if it applies to it for how it reviews the project. For construction management, the permit would be subject to the construction management provisions in today's bylaw, because by the time it goes to be built, it would presumably be after today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. On Zoom, Darren Muction.
Hi, Darren Muction, Town Meeting Manager, Precinct 2. I also am the president of the Belmont Center Business Association, so I have a lot at stake at this whole process. I am glad the town is taking an approach about construction management, but I would recommend and ask Chris, does he plan to meet with any of the small businesses in town, or Patrice, meet with us prior to any construction happening or any permits being taken out, so our local businesses can voice their concerns and what's coming forth? Just for prime examples, I have a business in Winchester, and also the town manager, the new town manager, has already taken a proactive approach, and he's met with all businesses. There is some projects coming down the line in Winchester Center, but they sat down with us already. They kind of discuss our concerns and what can we help the transition of these projects that are coming down from Winchester Center. So I hope the town takes the same approach and not wait until the permits are taken, but sit with us beforehand, because there's really no way of protecting small businesses during this process.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. It's a great question. And what we've done is we've created a pre-construction conference that must take place that includes specifically business owners in the area. It could also include residents. If they want to participate in these meetings, we suggest that the residents identify perhaps a spokesperson, because these are not necessarily public notice meetings, but pretty much any business can participate that wants to participate. If the Belmont Center Business Association, for example, wants to represent themselves, and if individual businesses also want to participate in these meetings, they can do that. In addition to the pre-construction conference, that same group of people will be invited to be able to participate in meetings that take place over the course of the project to make sure that everything is being done according to the construction management plan and any concerns are aired. So we set it up so that not only do we handle it before the construction begins, but all the way through the process.
Thank you. Seeing nobody in the room, seeing no hands up online, it seems as though we're ready to vote on Article 4. So, Mr. Haskell will be voting using point solutions. So again, this is the vote for Article 4, amend the zoning bylaw to add construction management. We could open the voting, please. So the voting is open. You can please cast your vote. Remember to press 1 if you're in favor of Article 4, 2 if you're opposed, and 3 to abstain. If you're having trouble and need to cast an emergency vote, please make your way to one of the microphones, or if you need a microphone, Meg here can kindly bring it to you, and we'll wait for me to recognize you. And likewise, if you're joining on Zoom, you can raise your Zoom hand to be recognized for an emergency vote as well. Okay, 10 seconds. Okay, you can close the vote, and we're going to hold it while we get the emergency votes.
Ted Dukas, Precinct 6, I vote yes.
That's Ted Dukas voting yes.
Michael Thompson, Precinct 4, yes.
Yes.
Lisa Pogoli, Precinct 4, no.
So no.
Leslie Aiken, Precinct 2, yes.
Yes. Mina Bagla online.
Meenal Bagla, Precinct 8, yes.
Yes. Any other emergency votes? Seeing none, we can show the results. So that is 220 in favor, 3 opposed, 6 abstentions, which is clearly 2/3. So Article 4 is adopted. And we will move on to our final zoning article of the evening, Article 5. Chair Taylor, I'm sorry, Chair Dunham. While we're scrolling the votes here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thayer Donham, Chair of the Planning Board, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 5. Moved that the town approve Appendix 3 dated May 4th, 2026 to Article 5 of the 2026 Annual Town Meeting warrant.
Do I have a second? Okay, we have a second. Is there a presentation under Article 5?
Yes, Chris will make.
Mr. Ryan.
Mr. Moderator, thank you. Chris Ryan,
Identify yourself.
Planning Building.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is relatively simple, but interesting in that the town right now does not allow veterinary uses. We have a line in the zoning use or the zoning use table that says veterinary uses, but it's a no across the board. And so we understand that perhaps that was done back in the day when maybe there was concern over noise, outdoor activities, maybe other types of activities related to veterinary uses like grooming and boarding and kennels and things of that nature, which actually veterinary uses right now in the bylaw is subsumed underneath. But we have heard from several veterinary practices that they would love to be in town, but there's no opportunity for them because of the prohibition. So what we wanted to do, the planning board and my department, is come up with a framework for veterinary uses that was really intending to be as innocuous as possible. Everything self-contained in a building, no outdoor activities, no activities outside of the actual clinical practice of veterinary care. So we created a definition for both veterinary clinics and veterinary hospitals, the primary difference being that a veterinary hospital can provide emergency care after hours, but no after-hour walk-ins or regular appointments. That's really the only difference. And what we did in addition for veterinary hospitals, we limited it to 2 zoning districts, 2 commercial zoning districts, and we provided some buffering and setback requirements for the veterinary hospitals, not the clinics. The idea being that at night there may be some headlights or some minor noise that might occur. So we wanted to create some buffering and mitigation of that, even though we don't think it's going to be significant. So the veterinary use for clinics would be allowed by right in all commercial districts. And we feel that this really is meeting a need for the community. I know that you'd love to have an opportunity to take your pets to a Belmont practice rather than a practice outside of town. That's economic leakage. We don't want that. We think it's a thoughtful process that we put together for you, and we look forward to any questions that you might have about the potential amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Is there a vote of the select board?
Matt Taylor, Chair of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member at Large. The Select Board unanimously recommends favorable action, 3-0.
Thank you. And we've already heard from the planning board. So at this point, the floor is open for discussion of Article 5. Microphone A.
Thomasine Olson, Precinct 5. I'm definitely in favor of having veterinary hospitals in town. However, I remember why we had those prohibitions on veterinary. I was here at town meeting, as a number of other people were, was very loud. Now, I was just talking with another town meeting member earlier, and it seems to me that the very simple thing, and I would like to know, you're in the planning department and the building department, if the walls of those buildings are fully insulated, doubly insulated, the noise is not going to affect the neighbors as it did back when the veterinary clinic was on Pleasant Street. And given that you guys are in the construction area, why wouldn't you add something like that? Like the walls will be such and such thick, or the walls will have so much insulation. There must be people out there. We live in a very technological society. I would think you'd be able to implement that, and that would mitigate all the concerns that neighbors would have. It was really the noise of that veterinary place that was on Pleasant Street that got us to the point where you have to bring this now. So are you going to work on that, is I guess my question.
Mr. Ryan?
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. This wasn't an issue that was raised during our public hearing process and hadn't come up in our research as well. I think it's an interesting question. And I think that if it's something that proves to be warranted, given what may occur with new veterinary practices that come online, I think it's something we can think about.
And then I have a question about
Can you identify yourself again, please?
Thomasine Olson, Precinct 5. I have a question about evening hours. It seems to me that that's when animals really get sick, is evening hours. Are you saying that the evening hours will be limited?
Mr. Ryan?
Yes, Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. Yes, the operational hours end at 7 p.m. So essentially, if you need emergency care,
right,
you're able to go to a hospital, a veterinary hospital. You can't do that at a clinic, which will end its care at that ended time. If you have some animal that is sick and needs to stay overnight, they can do that in the clinic as long as it's part of their care regimen. But if they need just a regular vet for regular care service, after that closing time, after that 7 o'clock period, they'll have to go to a 24-hour facility that's out of town, that's not in Belmont.
So are you saying that if somebody's dog or cat gets sick very sick at 9 o'clock in the evening, they can't go to the clinic? Is that?
That's already been 2 questions, Ms. Olson.
I'd just like it clarified.
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning.
You could do it really quickly, Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was.
That was a yes.
Thank you.
We're going to take microphone A, then go to Ji Yun Wong online, and then back to microphone A.
Michael McNamara, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 7. I think this touches close to a lot of people because a lot of people have pets, a lot of people have dogs, cats, some people have lizards. But the point is, a lot of us have animals we really care for and make a big part of our lives. I think the idea that we would prevent a clinic or a hospital from being here would be not only sort of economically sort of self-defeating, it really does put pet parents and also parents of actual kids in a bit of a pickle if they are in a real bad position and they're like, well, I have to go over 4 towns or 2 towns to find care. And then those clinics probably are also very busy and I'm out of town. I have to wait there and hope that my dog or my cat gets proper treatment. So I think the idea that we would have something in town, not only would it be good for economic reasons and for like just ease of the community, it might actually help some of our pets able to get care right away in the town. Like you just go 5 minutes over, 10 minutes over, and oh, it's on Belmont Street or Watertown Street or wherever, and you can get care. So I think this not only will be a benefit economically to the town and a benefit overall for the well-being of the town, it'll also make sure that maybe help some of our furry friends not get really sick or not have a crisis and have to have us go 3 towns over, half an hour to an hour out of our way to get care. So I think this is a smart idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Ji-Yun Wong on Zoom.
Jean Huang, Precinct 8. I'm not sure if I missed this on the slides, but my question was regarding the scope of the veterinary care. Does it also allow bigger animals, farm animals, horses, goats, and so forth? Or is it more only pets? Thank you.
Mr. Ryan.
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. Well, right now we do have an agricultural use that is allowed in town. I don't think in an urban area, typically you're going to get large farm animals. I don't think we put a prohibition in there for that. And the facility itself would have to be, calibrated for that. But I don't know if it necessarily would be prohibited, but it's not intended for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone B. I'm sorry, A.
Bob McGaw, Precinct 1. Chris, I apologize. I didn't catch this earlier, but I just lost my screen. In section 3.6.2, I don't know if you can put that on the screen or not, but I think the phrase containing a veterinary clinic is misplaced and we can fix it. But I need to know from you, I apologize for not catching this earlier. I think I was reading an earlier version. But is it supposed to modify the district or the business district?
Mr. Ryan.
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. Could you tell me the phrase that you're looking at?
On any lot in the LB1 and LB3 districts with a lot line adjacent to a residential zoning district containing a veterinary clinic. But containing a veterinary clinic really doesn't apply to the residential district, does it? It applies to the business district.
Mr. Ryan?
I don't know what.
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. I'm trying to absorb what you're saying.
In other words, if you're going to put a veterinary clinic in an LB1 or an LB3, then A and B would apply?
That's correct.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Sorry, point of order.
It's a point of order.
What is on the screen is, I believe, the older version that didn't include
Can you give your name and precinct number?
Sorry, this is James Knight, Precinct 1. Is this I believe that was the older version that did not include veterinary hospitals.
That's correct.
Okay, so we are voting on the one that does include veterinary hospital phrasing. Is that correct?
Are we looking at the same thing?
Mac, do you have the actual, the revised version?
So you got it fixed there. Where did I get that from?
That was the original.
Oh, they haven't updated it on.
It's updated.
Yeah, Appendix 3 was updated on May 4th.
I understand. It's been fixed, but not on the website.
Well, the revised version is on the website. I was just looking at it.
Right.
It's not on the screen. I'm sorry, but it's
No.
on the web. It is on the web clearly, but it's on the website. Okay, we good? We have an emergency comment question from somebody with a microphone problem, which is going to be read by our town clerk.
Right. Ellen O'Brien Cushman, Town Clerk, speaking on behalf of Cosmo Macero. His question is, does this mean that existing veterinary clinics who are already located in Belmont are covered under a grandfather clause or prior town meeting action?
Mr. Ryan?
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. So if they meet all of the requirements of this bylaw, then they're an allowed use. If they don't, they're continued as a existing nonconformity.
Thank you. We're going to go B, and then we have online Corinne McHugh Olmsted and David Chase. Microphone B.
Tony Barnes, Precinct 2. Mr. Moderator, I wanted to clarify a question earlier about sound and whether it was considered. My reading of section 3.6.1B says the facility shall be designed and operated to prevent the emission of objectionable odors and excessive noise. Ventilation, sound attenuation, other mitigation measures shall be provided. So my understanding is that that is included in the bylaw. Is that correct?
Mr. Ryan?
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. That is one of the criteria, yes.
Thank you. Microphone B.
Hi, Dan Barry, Precinct 6 and member of the Planning Board. I just wanted to address what might be something that's not perfectly clear right now, although maybe it is. If a pet gets very ill after 7 p.m. and the clinics wouldn't be available, that's why we included the possibility of a veterinary hospital that would be able to provide care. So that was the whole idea here. So, we had an experience with a pet that had an emergency, ate like a rug or something. And we had to go to Watertown, which was great. There was a place to go to. That place isn't there anymore. And the whole we're open for business theme, the thought, at least my thought on the planning board, and I think the others joined in this, is why not say yes to whatever wonderful business that can provide a terrific care to our families and their pets. Why not say yes? So that's a very simple proposal here. And I wanted to thank actually Doug Koplow. Had some really helpful comments in this process. Bob McGar and Doug Koplow also had very helpful comments with regards to Articles 3 and 4. So thank you.
Thank you. The next three speakers will be on Zoom, Corinne McHugh Olmsted, then David Chase, then Ade Baptiste. Ms. Olmsted.
Thank you. Corinne McHugh Olmsted, Precinct 1, town meeting member. And I'm not sure which copy I'm looking at, but I believe the copy I'm reading says that there shall be a privacy fence along the residential lot line of at least 7 feet in height or some other options. If that is in the current version, my question is, within a residential district, a fence of 7 feet would be considered a spite fence, anything above 6 feet. Is it the norm and, within the normal standards that a fence that abuts a residential and commercial district would be 7 feet in height?
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. We found that in our research that many buffer fences that were between commercial and residential districts were usually of that height, sometimes higher. So we felt as though not only from a noise standpoint, but a visual standpoint, it was a good height to also use for our bylaw.
So yeah, I guess my question is, so that is allowed.
Identify yourself again, please.
Sorry, yes, Corinne McHugh Olmsted, town meeting member, Precinct 1. So it sounds like that is something that is allowed in Belmont without additional permitting or the ability for the residential abutter to complain.
Mr. Ryan.
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. Yeah, it's a mitigation measure, so it really wouldn't be something that we would open it up for, public examination, other than the fact that during site plan review, if there are mitigating circumstances, the planning board may take into consideration those circumstances and may modify it accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. On Zoom, David Chase.
Mute. David Chase, town meeting member, Precinct 3. I have some experience with several points that were brought up here. I live near that old Pleasant Street noisy place, and the problem there was more or less open air boarding of dogs, and they did have a fence, and they did claim they were doing high-tech sound reducing things. And none of that worked. I don't know that a fence matters. I don't know that we should be requiring a fence because it doesn't help. We should just treat it like any other business use. The open air boarding was the problem, and it was mysterious. We've also had the unfortunate experience of having a pet get sick after hours, and we trotted ourselves out to Waltham. And I don't see that there was not much traffic. It was just us showing up with our very sick cat. I don't know if we would get such a facility here. It would have been nice, but it didn't seem like a lot of traffic to be worth regulating. And bizarrely, I have some experience with large animals and vets, and in a place a good deal more rural than Belmont, they make house calls. They do not expect you to transport your large animal. They come to you. That was what I recall. I would love to have more vets. I'm always surprised to learn how picky we are about what businesses are and are not allowed. And somehow I wish we could focus more on the effects, like the noise itself, instead of micromanaging our theories of how we might control the noise. Just please don't make that kind of noise. Thank you very much. That is all.
Thank you. Online, we have Ari Bautista, then we'll go to microphone A.
Adam Batista, town meeting member, precinct 3. I have 2 comments. One, I understand because I drive by it often. There's a crate escape, and I've yet to hear any sounds coming from that facility in the many years I've lived here. There's pets that are there. I think it's a boarding place. I don't think it's a vet, but there are lots of pets there. So whatever they're doing, maybe that's something that if someone happens to be a neighbor there and wants to comment, maybe that's something they could do. But I don't think that the noise or anything is going to be an issue with that. So I just want to put that out there. The second thing I want to mention is that I just want to thank Dr. Ryan, the planning board, and whoever else actually identified this issue and bring this to our attention today. I think it's creative ideas like this that improves the lives of Belmont residents. Of course, it improves the lives of the pets here, right, and animals. But it also helps us find more revenue and support local businesses. So this is brilliant. I'm wholeheartedly want to support this, and I hope you do too. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone A.
Melissa, Melissa McIntyre, Precinct 8. My dog would really like his vet to be legitimate. But I actually also have a question because I don't know the answer. Veterinarians are business owners, and if they own the building, would they be paying business property taxes?
Mr. Ryan.
Chris Ryan, Director of Planning and Building. If you're the building owner, you will be paying the property taxes for that facility, yes.
Thank you.
Microphone B.
Bill Anderson, Precinct 2. We've been talking about after 7 o'clock at night. It's maybe a simple question, but this allows weekend emergency care as well, right? It's just, okay.
Yes. Thank you. On Zoom, Laura Burns.
Hello, Laura Burns, Precinct 6. I'd like to call the question.
Well, Laura, there's nobody in line.
Okay, good.
Well, someone just put their hand up on Zoom. There's one hand up on Zoom. There's nobody in line here. Yes?
Can we just move on? I'd still like to call it.
You'd like to make the motion. Okay, so there's a motion to call a question. Do we have a second? There's a second, so this is not debatable. It's a 2/3 vote. So, Mr. Haskell, I think we can open the voting here, and the voting is open, so please cast your vote. Remember, press 1 if you're in favor of terminating debate on Article 5, 2 if you're opposed to terminating debate, and 3 if you wish to abstain. If you have trouble and need to cast an emergency vote, make your way to one of the microphones and I'll recognize you, or Meg will get you a microphone if you need one. Likewise, if you're joining on Zoom, you can raise your Zoom hand for an emergency vote to be recognized. Still waiting for Belmont Media. Ten seconds.
Michael Thompson, precinct, oh, sorry.
Okay, you can close the voting, Matt?
Now
Yes.
we do it? Okay. Michael Thompson, precinct 4, yes.
Yes on terminating debate. Okay.
Lisa Pagoli, precinct 4, yes. I just want to note that I worked as the office manager to that animal hospital for 3 years.
All right, well, we're not taking testimony during this. No testimony during this. We're just taking emergency votes, but yes.
Leslie Aiken, precinct 2, yes.
Yes to terminate debate. Lisa O has her hand up online, but I think that's from before. I'm sorry, Mr. Dukas.
Sorry, I think it's your exercise like that. Ted Dukas, precinct 6, I vote yes.
Yes on terminate debate. That's it. Okay, please. So the motion to terminate debate in Article 5, that is 210 yes, 20 no, 3 abstentions. So we have terminated debate by 2/3 vote, and we'll move to a vote on Article 5 itself. After we're done scrolling this. I appreciate the pleasant scope of conversation in front of the Beagle on this article. Okay. All right, so now we're going to vote on Article 5. Going to open voting. This is the vote on Article 5. Voting is open. So please cast your vote. Press 1 if you are in favor of Article 5, the amend the zoning bylaw to add definition of veterinary clinic, 2 if you're opposed, and 3 to abstain. If you have trouble, need to cast emergency vote again, please make your way to the microphone, wait for me to recognize you, or have Meg come and see you. Likewise, if you're joining on Zoom, please raise your Zoom hand to be recognized. As we're almost at the 9 o'clock, I think we will probably break at this point. Ten seconds. Okay, can we close the voting, Matt? Emergency votes, please. Microphone A.
Brian Keith, precinct 4, yes.
That's yes. Microphone A.
Leslie Aiken, precinct 2, yes.
Yes.
Michael Thompson, precinct 4, yes.
Yes.
Lisa Pagoli,
Ted
precinct
Dukas,
4,
precinct
yes.
6, I vote yes.
And Ted Dukas, so that's 2 yeses. Okay. See none online. I see no more in the room, so we can show what we've got here. So that is 237 in favor, 3 opposed, and 0 abstentions. So Article 5 is adopted. So at this point, I think, should be taking our break, maybe a couple minutes early. When we come back, we'll get to Articles 19 and 35. So let's take 15. And we're going to start up with Article 19, which is the disband municipal rink ice rink building committee, which is being withdrawn. Chair Taylor. So we'll waive the reading and move to withdraw.
Yes.
Chair Taylor.
Matt Taylor, Chair of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member at Large, move to waive the reading of the motion under Article 19.
I will take unanimous consent if there's a second to that. There's a second to that. Unanimous consent, no opposition, so that's been approved. Chair Taylor.
Matt Taylor, Chair of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member at Large, move to withdraw Article 19 of the May 4th, 2026 Town Meeting warrant.
Second. Don't need a second for the motion to withdraw, but I appreciate the enthusiasm. Take a unanimous consent for that. Seeing no opposition, Article 19 has been withdrawn. Next is Article 35. And Article 35 is this amend general bylaws, Belmont Common Sewer Bylaw.
Carol Barbarian, member of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member Precinct 7. Moved that the town approve Appendix 4 dated May 4th, 2026 to Article 35 of the 2026 Annual Town Meeting warrant.
Do I have a second? We have a second. Ms. Barbarian?
Do you want the votes or?
We could do the votes. I usually like the presentation first and then the votes, but go for it.
So Article 35 addresses the challenges that arise when private sewer systems connect to the town's public sewer systems. This bylaw enables the town to help residents seeking to transition off septic systems and manage common sewers to best protect public health and our environment. Parts of Belmont, particularly on Belmont Hill, have historically relied on septic because their streets lacked public sewers. When Massachusetts rewrote our septic regulations in the 90s to better protect public health and the environment, homeowners may not have been able to update or replace their aging systems. And to help homeowners to actually get off of their septic system, the town allowed private company to build a sewer system in the area that wasn't reached by our public sewer system. The owner of the private sewer charges the homeowner a connection fee in addition to any cost for the work. Private sewers are not standalone systems. They ultimately connect to the town sewer, and issues with private septic or sewer systems can affect the environment, and common sewers will be regulated in accordance with the relevant sections of our separate stormwater management and erosion control bylaws. The administrative powers of the bylaw include issuing and denying permits, overseeing or denying new connections, and authorization to acquire common sewers without further action from town meeting, but town meeting would need to appropriate any needed funds for any of those projects. The bylaw delegates the standard common sewer connection permit application process to the DPW, and DPW can adopt rules and regulations to carry out this section.
Thank you. We have a vote of the Select Board.
The Select Board voted unanimously 3-0 in favor of favorable action.
And does the school committee have a vote on this? And the answer is no. Bylaw review? Yes.
Good evening, Bob McGaw, Chair of the Bylaw Review Committee. When I make my reports, I think some people have told me that it sounds like it's a rubber stamp. I should tell you that this article went through extensive editing and reconstruction, and there was a lot of effort to try to make it simple and straightforward. It's a complicated document to create a simple idea. We needed lots of new definitions, and we had to figure out a lot of interesting aspects of the town sewer systems and whatnot. But what you have now before you as an amendment, as a new bylaw, has been approved as to form and consistency and placement
And we reserve the right to modify the numbering as necessary to conform it to the style of the general bylaws. Thank you.
Thank you. Comprehensive Capital have a vote?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Aaron Picklingus, member of the Comprehensive Capital Budget Committee. We did not take a vote on this.
And I understand the warrant committee did not take a vote. Is that correct? That is correct. Okay. Anything else? Then we have the floor open for debate on Article 35.
Henry
Microphone E.
Lambert,
No, go ahead.
Town Meeting Member Precinct 2.
Go ahead.
Great. I rise in support of this. I believe it's going to increase the control and the visibility that the town has into possibly chronic sources of E. coli pollution in our waterways. As I understand it, most of our septic systems drain into the Mystic watershed, in particular into the Wellington Brook, which is in front now featured in our library design, and then into Clay Pit Pond. And I welcome the opportunity to continue to try to get our E. coli measurements down in those two water bodies. And having invested millions of dollars in repairing our public sewer and stormwater infrastructure, we still have a problem. And as a public service announcement, I just would advise children and pets as the weather gets warmer to stay away from the water in the Clay Pit Pond and in the Wellington Brook, which is the brook behind the library. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take microphone B, then we're going to go to online with Chris Doyle and Corinne McHugh Olmsted, and then back to B, or back to whoever was up. Yes, go ahead.
Doug Koplow, Precinct 6. The logic of this makes total sense. I'm just curious, when a town takes over privately owned assets, which are not always well managed, what the financial implications to the town are, if there are surprise costs, how is it paid? And are there things in the agreement that make sure that all those costs don't end up just shifted to the town?
Thank you. Ms. Berberian?
I think we'll defer to Jay on this. Carol Berberian, member of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member Precinct 7, and I'll defer to Jay Marcotte.
Mr. Marcotte? The next three speakers will be on Zoom: Chris Doyle, Corinne McHugh Olmsted, and Angus Abercrombie.
Jay Marcotte, DPW Director. Ms. Koppel, I believe your question was, how would this be paid for? And then.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you're taking over existing assets of unknown quality. And so how will it be?
Can you speak to the microphone and identify yourself, please?
Oh, Doug Koplow, Precinct 6. Sorry.
Yeah.
Good. Ms. Berberian?
Sorry. Carol Berberian, member of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 7. So this is allowing us to acquire these and standardizing some of the processes. So whatever is acquired would be handled the same way that we have costs for existing systems, where it's part of our maintenance budget and emergency services as required.
So that, Doug Koplow, Precinct 6, that's not my exact question. So you will take it over. It will possibly have a lot of capital improvements that are required at the time of acquisition. And so I'm just wondering how that whole process works.
Town Council?
Mina Macarius, Anderson Krieger, Town Council. To Mr. Koplow's question, in terms of the acquisition costs, in some ways, and that will also be reflected in the acquisition cost, property that or equipment that has lesser value because it needs a lot of upgrades would have a lower price, right, for the cost. However, your question about the maintenance and upgrades after the fact, that would have to come from appropriations of town meeting or from the sewer and enterprise fund in the normal course. So that is certainly something that when the town considers acquisition of private sewer infrastructure, it has to consider, is it something it wants to add in, and whether, in some cases, is it less expensive to acquire it and maintain it under its own, or to potentially wait for a failure in which the town may have to respond on an emergency basis. So there may be costs that are not covered directly. And if it's benefiting only a small part of the community, there may be betterments and assessments that only those portions of the community would have to pay. But generally speaking, it's from the general capital budget and sewer and enterprise funds.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Doyle on Zoom.
Hi, Chris Doyle, Chair, Town Meeting Precinct 6, Chair of the Capital Committee. I have a similar question to Doug, but I'm just going to try asking it in a little bit different way. And I'm a little bit unclear about the boundary between, I know that 35 is the bylaw and 36 is this, maybe we're not bringing it up because it's a negotiated dollar amount, but what is the town doing? What kind of assessment or study is the town doing of this private sewer system to assess the condition that it's in so that the amount that's paid can suitably be deducted by what I'm just gonna completely naively, because I didn't even know this existed until like a month ago, I'm assuming is probably not a very well-maintained private sewer system. So how are we going about assessing that so that we're not stuck holding the bag with sewer rates for the condition of this private sewer system?
Yes, Ms. Doyle, we're not, that's outside of the scope of this article, that as far as the assessment of the.
So so I'm not asking what the assessment is. With the bylaw, I'm asking what is the town doing to understand the condition of this private sewer system? How can we, what are we doing to understand the condition of it? And our committee would have liked to have evaluated this, but we didn't receive information on it that allowed us to take a look at it, so.
I think town council would like to respond.
Mr. Moderator, Mina Macarius, Anderson Krieger, Town Council. So I want to be clear, Article 36, the reason it's not before you tonight is that we don't have the number yet. There is an appraisal being done for that specific example, but within the scope of this article, again, this is an authorizing bylaw. It does not automatically require or acquire by the town all private sewers in town. It just provides the authority to the select board to do that, so that in future situations, we are not, if there is adequate funds in sewer, in water or sewer funds to acquire this, we have an ability to do that as a town without coming to town meeting and without letting a problem linger.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
You have one more question? Yes. You identify yourself, please.
Chris Doyle, Precinct 6, Chair of the Capital Committee. Is there an element of this bylaw that provides for the town to evaluate the condition of private sewers and to take those into account? That information into account?
In general.
In general, as a general matter, correct? Question mark.
Yeah, Ms. Berberian.
Carol Berberian, member of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member Precinct 7. It's my understanding that that would be handled on a case-by-case scenario because, again, this is not a specific situation that we're looking at. This is an authorizing opportunity.
Thank you. Next online, Angus Abercrombie.
Hi there, Angus Abercrombie, Town Meeting Member Precinct 8. My question is really just to get a sense of scale here. How many homes in Belmont are served currently by private sewer and how many by septic of the roughly 10,000?
Ms. Marcotte, Mr. Marcotte.
Jay Marcotte, DPW Director. There is give or take around 100 that are on septic. And the rest are on town.
So are there any sorry, Angus Abercrombie, Town Meeting Member Precinct 8. What's the number served by private sewer? Is there any?
Mr. Marcotte?
Jay Marcotte, DPW Director. Private sewer. I'll have to send that in an email to the moderator after the fact. And the number changes. It increases every year or so. So I will get to that number to the moderator to send out after the fact. And for just septic that's not on any system, there's about 100.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we're going to microphone A, then online to Ji-Yun Wong and Vince Stanton, and then microphone B.
Sorry, Michael McNamara, Town Meeting Member Precinct 7. So I have a question about this. There's something that was in the back and forth a couple questioners ago through the moderator that I raised some concern, which is, is there a negotiation going on between the town and these homeowners or property owners? I feel like the larger question about the potential risk to the town financially is something that probably should come before town meeting fairly often. If there is really a need to have this sort of septic system in like at least a couple more times, I feel like there probably should be discussion about whether we want to do this and about whether the people who own the property or the private sort of septic system need to chip in a little bit more, like how they negotiate with the town on that. I feel like this is something that should be discussed more, not less, just my opinion. But I was sort of wondering if you want to comment.
Mr. Marcotte?
Jay Marcotte, DPW Director. The bottom line is that the private line ties directly into the town's public line. And ultimately, the town is responsible no matter what happens. So this will give the town more control in, how things are being laid out and permits and all that stuff. So ultimately, the liability is on the town.
Sure. Just quick follow-up, Michael McNamara, Town Meeting Member Precinct 7. So I'm confused because you talked about a septic system, you talked about private sewers, and now you're talking about the town sort of sewer. So how is that all connected? Because it seems to suggest that you're saying some of the stuff, ultimately the town's responsible for everything, but are you saying that some of it's connected to private sewers? And what exactly are you saying? I'm just a little confused.
Town Council?
Mina Macarius, Anderson Krieger, Town Council. Just to clarify a few things. So what Mr. Marcotte is referring to when he says liabilities, it's that the town can't stand by and let things happen to town, that there are obligations of private sewer owners to maintain and repair and keep up to date those sewers. This offers a way for the town, if that is not being done, to gain control. To your question about how all these things are tied in, ultimately, many private sewers are tied in. The ones that will be discussed on Monday under Article 36 are the ones that are tied in as well. Again, the authorizing bylaw here is just authorizing. If the town needs to spend money, it would have to either be appropriated or used in the normal course, including coming to town meeting. If the town needs to acquire land adjacent to it, it may also need to come back for a separate vote there. If the town is spending money that's already been appropriated, if that's within the scope, that might be the only time that the select board can do that, essentially without coming back to town meeting. The question about negotiations, et cetera, it's hard to say in any future case whether that would be the case. That certainly is a possibility, but even then, the financial appropriation has to happen in the normal course, like any other capital expenditure of town.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. We're going to go online to Ji-Yun Wong, then Vincent Stanton. Ji.
Ji-Yun Hong, Precinct 8. In continuing with the discussion about the finance, certainly I agree, and I think everyone agrees, everyone to have safer, cleaner water management, sewer management. My question is, certainly, is there a way to pass a regulation in which it requires the owners to be the one who takes the ownership to make the changes versus us acquiring it and then making the changes?
Town council?
Mina Macarius, Anderson Krieger Town Council. So the town does have a stormwater bylaw. It has, there are health regulations about tie-ins. And within this bylaw, there are also provisions that require anyone tying into the town sewer system in the future to also seek approval from the select board, which allows a degree of review of that is not available to them. So there are ways what I'm saying must be that exciting, that there are ways to regulate that, and these offer additional opportunities for review through this bylaw.
Thank you. We go online to Vincent Stanton, then to microphone B, then to online to Corinne Olmsted, and then A, and back to Zoom for Rosemary Burks. So Vincent Stanton, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Vincent Stanton, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3. I'm actually kind of surprised that the town is going to pay for this potential liability rather than vice versa. I'm also surprised that an article that seems to me to potentially have significant financial implications wasn't reviewed by the Capital Budget Committee. Was it, so I have two questions. Was this reviewed by the Warrant Committee and they determined that there was not a financial impact to the town, or were they simply not asked to review it? And my second question is, will coliform bacteria counts in the effluent water from the private sewer system be part of the evaluation process before the town, or as part of the town's assessing what liability it's taking on in this or any other case? Thank you.
I guess, Mr. Richter, if you had an answer for the Warrant Committee question.
Mr. Moderator, Paul Richter, Town Meeting Member for Precinct 8, Chair of the Warrant Committee. The Warrant Committee reviewed this, but this is language just to permit this process. We did not determine there was a financial impact. There is a financial impact in Article 36. We have not gotten to that yet. But for this is just enabling legislation which will allow this process to happen. There's no, in our opinion, there was no fiscal impact for that. So we did not take a position on this.
Okay, anyone want to answer the second question? Mr. Marcotte?
Yeah.
Jay Marcotte, TPW Director. The second question was about the private septics.
About the standards for evaluation.
Whether coliform bacteria in the effluent water from the private sewer would be measured as part of assessing the liabilities that the town was taking on in acquiring this system.
Oh, and just as we know, as far as scope, for Article 35, we're not talking about a system in particular.
Exactly.
But in general.
Yeah, Jay Marcotte, DPW Director. In general, it's going into the town's public system, so it's being monitored that way.
Could I make concluding remarks, Mr. Moderator?
Yes, you may.
Yeah, thank you. So
identify yourself.
What that means is that we're not.
Identify yourself, please, Mr.
Vincent Stanton, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3. That means we're not going to have a clear idea whether the effluent water from this or any other private sewer system is perhaps a significant contributor to our flunking grades on overall wastewater coming from Belmont. And with respect to the Warrant Committee, with all due respect, it seems that the enabling legislation, which allows the town to do this for any private sewer, and I got the impression that that was without coming back to town meeting, potentially has significant financial effects. Difficult to measure, I understand, but thank you.
Thank you. Microphone B.
Julia Jenkins, Precinct 3. And my question is whether or not we support this enabling legislation, right? We're going to vote to support it or not. And what is the motivation of the town or the select board to bring this forward to support it? And it seems, if I'm understanding, and this is where I want some confirmation, that our goal is to make our septic system, not our septic, our sewer system something that we can control, and so that we know the quality of what's going in. And if I am correct, that seems like everyone's saying, we're taking on a liability as the town, and the homeowners that are being linked in are getting something in return. Am I understanding this correctly, or can someone tell me why we want to do this?
Chair Taylor?
Hi, Matt Taylor, Chair of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member at Large. So the Article 35 is trying to do a couple things. It's to, if you rewind time a bit to the 1990s, septic regulations changed. They're basically completely written, Article 5 in Massachusetts, for public health and environmental protection. Given the topology of Belmont Hill, the high, shelf rocks and stuff like that, if you're on a septic system today, it can be really hard to upgrade a system, have it still be safe and sanitary, and meet all these regulations. So in the 1990s, the select board allowed companies to build out private sewers on streets that did not have a public sewer. And this gave homeowners an option to connect to a sewer system rather than being on septic and having no alternatives. Article 35 tries to lay out a regulatory framework to manage this. So here we are, call it 25, 30 years later, we're trying to put the bones in place to be able to have some control and say over how these systems interact. These systems connect, so the homeowner connects to the private sewer system, that sewer system ultimately connects to the town system. So it's really all part of the one network. So Article 35 would give the select board authorization to have a permitting system, to delegate to the Department of Public Works to develop a permit system for connecting. So that's the homeowners connecting to what would be a common sewer, so that we know when those connections happen. We can, it requires homeowners to give an easement as part of that, so that we have for the maintenance and inspection. So these are provisions that don't currently exist. My understanding from MGL Chapter 83, at the end of it, it says that a town can basically adopt these kinds of things by ordinance or bylaw. So here we are trying to adopt those things by ordinance or bylaw. And it all comes down to helping homeowners get off septic if and when it's possible, being able to administer and monitor and maintain, if necessary, infrastructure that is serving our residents and that ultimately connects to the public infrastructure which the town maintains. And obviously, if something happens that affects the environment or public health or safety and it is not being addressed, then the town will step in and make sure that our residents are safe.
Thank you. Quinn McHugh Homestead's hand is down on Zoom, so we will go microphone B, then A, then Zoom for Rosemary Burke, and then back to A. So,
David Webster, town meeting member, Precinct 4. I understand first the desire to get rid of the septic systems. I also understand our ultimate accountability for the sewage effluent that leaves the town system to the MWRA and being responsible for it. What I'm concerned about in this authorizing statute is what's the responsibility right as we vote for the private owner of that system and for the town. The systems, as I understand them, are pretty tricky. It's pumped up effluent. It's because of the topography up there that it doesn't flow by gravity flow all the way to the sewer. So it's not a nice line of responsibility. It gets pumped up. So there's a lot of maintenance involved with it. Who right now, if we pass this, is responsible for that maintenance? Is it still the owner of that private system, or are we, by taking this vote, taking on some of this responsibility? And I kind of agree with Vincent Stanton a bit that wait a minute, who's paying who here? I think we're bailing out the system. So my question is the town taking on changing responsibilities or even liabilities with this? And if so, what are those changes? Or are we so confident that we're going to be able to come up with a negotiated one that we're willing to take on those responsibilities for a while?
Ms. Barbarian.
Carol Barbarian, member of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 7. This is really going out of scope of the article. This isn't changing anything about current agreements and the way things are working in town.
So the town's not taking over any
Can you
responsibility
identify
for
yourself,
this?
please?
Oh, David Webster, Precinct 4. So
We're
the
talking
town's
about
not
in
taking
general, and we're talking about in general, not about a specific thing in Article 35.
in Article 35,
Correct.
are we taking on any more responsibility for the operation and maintenance of that system?
Of a system.
Of a private system, yes.
Correct. Thank you. Town Council.
Mina Macarius, Anderson and Krieger, Town Council. Under Article 35, no, it is authorizing it so that those choices, that choice could be made. Under Article 36, that will be a consideration, and that will be presented why it makes sense in that particular circumstance. And that's sort of the point, is to have the option when it makes sense for the town, due to concerns about the failure of the system, the inability to manage it, the concerns about what it's ultimately adding. It'll ultimately be in each circumstance a cost-benefit analysis, as you're mentioning. So those are the right questions, but for Article 36, in a sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone B.
Jack Weiss, Precinct 1. I understand that this is just a process enabling legislation. I understand it's not related to a specific acquisition. But to get to the capital question that seems to be on lots of people's minds, can the select board assure town meeting that in exercising the powers that are granted under this Article 35, that they will always look to what the immediate and long-term financial costs are to the town if they want to exercise this option?
Mr. Yates.
Taylor Yates, Vice Chair of the Select Board. You may have seen in the annotated warrant that we have a lot of executive sessions talking about this, and I assure you, yes, we will be thinking about this in short and long-term financial terms.
Great. I would have assumed that, and thank you for confirming.
Microphone A.
Christina Marsh, Precinct 3. In the bylaw, it mentions that there's an application, and I'm just curious to better understand what this process is as it's considered, because it seems like assessments might be required, might not be required, and I share some of these concerns of understanding what is the town taking on when it takes ownership of some of these existing private systems.
Ms. Barbarian.
Carol Barbarian, member of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 7. Can you clarify what type of an application?
It mentions in the bylaw,
Please.
oh, sorry, Christina Marsh, Precinct 3, it mentions in the bylaw that an application is made. And it had been mentioned earlier that assessments may be required, but may not be required. It'd be a case-by-case basis. And so I'm curious, is there any kind of overarching framework for how these things will be processed as we consider them one by one by one?
Chair Taylor.
Matt Taylor, Chair of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member at Large. Thank you for the question, and it is a lot of parts. So the application referenced in the bylaw is an application for a common sewer connection permit. So this would be from the homeowner, or maybe it's a business if it happens to be a business, but the property owner that wishes to connect to a sewer line. And that is so that application process doesn't exist yet. The bylaw delegates the creation and administering of that connection permit application to the Department of Public Works. So we would finally have a standardized connection permit application. Currently, if a homeowner, for example, wished to connect to a private sewer. They get various permits from different departments, presumably, and then they connect directly to the private sewer system. My understanding is the typical practice in this case is the property owner that's connecting pays that private sewer owner directly, not the town. So when we're talking about an application, it's not an application for a big system or a series of private sewers. It's for the homeowner to connect to an existing one and to make sure that we have a centralized and clear and standardized process for knowing when those connections happen, for gathering the necessary information, for having easements that are needed in case there's maintenance or other access and inspections that need to happen. And then having a centralized point where that, sorry, let me back up. The bylaw then says that the DPW, who administers the connection permit process, reviews the completed application for that connection, and then makes a recommendation to the select board. And the point here is to consolidate into one single point that is clear, a source of authority that reviews the entire application and all the facts and can make a clear call on whether this connection permit is in the good interest for, is appropriately complying with everything that the town needs to manage it. Does that help address your question?
May I ask a follow-up question?
Yes, you may. Identify
Kristen
yourself.
Marsh, Precinct 3. So how does that interface with what we're talking about where there are these private sewer systems that we are now connecting to the public system? Because that sounds like it's like a house by house or building by building basis.
Chair Taylor.
Matt Taylor, Chair of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member at Large. So the application in the bylaw is for a homeowner connecting to a private sewer system. If there's like, say, some other licensing agreement that allows a private sewer system to connect to the public system, that would need to be handled separately. But this bylaw would allow the select board in the future to declare it a common sewer. So a common sewer under this bylaw, it reads a little circular, and if you read legalese, you can find these all over the place. But the phrase common sewer has been used in law for a long time and doesn't have like a strict definition. So when we have common sewer defined in our bylaw, it says it's a common sewer. But it references, it says it can be in a private or public way, and it can be privately owned or publicly owned. And so this bylaw helps us have one framework for all of those things that end up connecting with each other. So you get a standardized management framework for the things that all have to play together and all interface with our residents and our businesses and our environment and our public health. And so some of these systems, ultimately the sewage has got to go somewhere, right? And it ends up connecting to the public infrastructure as well. And so part of this is then being able to say we want to monitor those connections. And then, gosh, I missed Glenn Clancy. We do a lot of work then to try to inspect things, look for unpermitted connections, right? We're looking, because we do pay, so this costs the town money, right? You do get a sewer bill. So there's, we are looking for connections, leakage, stuff like that to keep the whole system and our whole town healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we go next online to Rosemary Burke, then A, then B, then A, then back to Zoom for Emily Peterson, then A, then back to Zoom for Jung Yue, just to give you an idea of where we are.
Rosemary Burke, Precinct 2. I really find this really troubling. Matt Taylor just painted a very rational picture. Of course, we all want the sewers to be working properly and not have leakage, et cetera, and keep all the town residents healthy. But this seems to me that if we authorize this to go forward, then down the line, you can run into situations where apparently we're going to be making financial agreements with residents who are on private sewer for them to connect, to encourage them to connect. And who's going to have, who's going to know how much money is being spent there? When is it being spent? Unless you happen to be at the particular, I don't know, select board meeting or whatever. It seems to me that this is really a very backwards way of doing something. I'm opposed to this. I'm going to oppose it. I think it's not clear. Obviously there's a lot of questions here. There's a lot of questions or misunderstandings. People don't really understand this. It hasn't been presented well. I think we're if we vote to authorize this, I don't think we understand what we're authorizing and what we're getting into. So I would encourage a no vote.
Thank you. Microphone A.
Thomasine Olson, Precinct 5. I have two questions. One is, other than the funding that needs to come from the residents who have to connect in, the town's funding, will that come from the water and sewer receipts, or is that going to come from our general budget?
Mr. Marcotte?
Jay Marcotte, TPW Director. That would come directly from the sewer retained earnings.
Okay, and the second question.
Can you identify yourself, please?
Thomasine Olson, Precinct 5. Prior to our vote on this is just an authorization, I understand, but prior to our vote, will the capital budget, and I'm hoping the answer is correct, will the capital budget committee be involved in the analysis so that we can get a full readout of the pros and cons financially?
Mr. Marcotte?
Jay Marcotte, DPW Director. Tommy, are you referring to like what the entire private system's worth would be and in future worth, or?
Someone asked earlier if the warrant committee could weigh in on this, and they obviously said they weren't asked yet. But I always find the analysis from the capital budget committee to be very thorough. So I'm asking, whatever financial analysis needs to be done, will they be invited to do that analysis?
Yes, Jay Marcotte, DPW Director. Yes, of course, that would absolutely be part of the town's infrastructure, so they would be involved.
That's coming up at one of our next meetings.
Well, we're still waiting for an appraisal. Jay Marcotte, DPW Director, sorry. We're waiting for an appraisal, so I'm not sure if we'll have that information for that meeting, but they will be involved.
Well, if you don't have that, then how can we vote on it?
I'm sorry.
That's a future meeting. I guess I'll let it go. Next question.
Thank you. Microphone B.
Yes, James Knight, Precinct 1. So I think part of the confusion here, and you might have inferred it, is that some of this is coming from various trouble that we have had with existing systems. And if you look at court records, you will find various court hearings with existing system owners and the town going back a number of years. And I think part of the reason for that is that we have lacked something like this that makes it clear, like what exactly we expect and what the requirements are for an operator of a private sewer system in the town. And so I think it's pretty important, for our town to vote for having clearer requirements here and avoid some of the legal fuss that's on the public record that I understand that the town administration cannot talk about, but you can go look that up. It's on public record. I think that's independent of whether we end up acquiring any particular system or not. Having the rules and regulations that allow us to avoid legal troubles in the future, I think is pretty important to vote yes on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone A.
Jean Mooney, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 6. I just want to get some clarity, Mr. Moderator.
under number 2, on the administrative common sewers, and this may have to do with the definition of a common sewer, but it says, this section 6330 shall apply to existing common sewers as well as any laid in any such land or way after the effective date of the section. So I'm thinking that, we're maybe doing this because we have got current situations. What I'm trying to understand are the potential for other private systems, or are we trying to get off of that altogether, or it's okay to have these other common systems in the future, we just have to connect them properly?
Chair Taylor.
Matt Taylor, Chair of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member at Large. Thank you. So you've correctly highlighted that point number 2 in the bylaw says that the Select Board may lay out, construct, maintain, blah, 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 common sewers, and it applies to any that are already laid out or in the future. And I thought the previous town meeting member said it well. We're trying to both address issues that the town may have experienced so far, plus have a framework for moving forward that manages all these sewer systems in a consistent way. So this framework would allow the select board it would apply to everything that exists, but also any new systems that might be built in the future.
A follow-up question.
You have one more question? Yes.
Jean Mooney, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 6. So I just wanted to get clarity that these other private systems or other common sewer systems are not in themselves bad. It's the connection that they could be installed in the future in some other future development. I don't know where they would be. But there is the potential for that type of system, and they're not necessarily a bad thing.
Chair Taylor.
Matt Taylor, Chair of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member at Large. I would agree with that statement. I don't think a sewer system is inherently good or bad.
Well, that type of system.
Yeah. And, I think when this was intended in the 1990s, it was viewed as like a public-private partnership. And certainly there's examples where that goes well.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next we're going to go online to Emily Peterson, then to A, then online to Jung Yue, then to B, then online to Travis Frank. Emily Peterson.
Emily Peterson, Precinct 1. Like many others, I'm concerned, excuse me, about the risk that we're taking on and wondering how we can make this bylaw stronger to encourage private systems to be of a certain quality before we would consider it allowed to connect to our common sewer. I'm reminded of some private streets that we weren't willing to take over until they came to a specific quality. The reason I bring this up is I can envision a future state where we have a specific money allocation that comes for town meeting for incorporating a private sewer, into ours, and we know that there's big challenges and but what's laid in front of us is, well, this is leaking sewage into our environment, and so we just have to suck it up and pay. And I'm worried about that potential sort of article coming before us, because it's going to be really hard to say no to that. But at the same time, we're sort of preparing to allow that, I feel like, with this bylaw. And so I'm just wondering, yes, I hear the select board wants to, but, or the homeowners can't afford to bring it up to quality. So, can we consider, additional payment plan or something for that? And then the final thing, sorry, there's a lot of questions. The final thing is, why are we allowing more private sewers to be built? When I think about the big development that might happen over by Little Pond, that's close to a waterway. How are we ensuring that future private sewers are going to meet our standards? Okay, I'm done.
Chair Taylor, you want to speak in general about an issue?
Matt Taylor, Chair of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member at Large. So you mentioned sewage leaking into the environment and what happens then. So this has happened in Belmont. I think it was 2019, Thanksgiving weekend. There was a connection to a sewer system that leaked, and the town's DPW workers had to do the mitigation and the cleanup, including incurring overtime and on the holiday in order to address the situation. And this is what we mean quite explicitly when the town steps in to make sure that we're protecting public safety and health and the environment. And I think it would be prudent for the town to have a standardized framework to manage these kinds of things. And if a system were to be created, so to my knowledge, we haven't licensed additional private sewer systems in Belmont. So sewer systems do have to comply with other codes and regulations when they are constructed. And I think that having this bylaw is actually a prudent step to both learning from the past and preparing for the future.
Town Council.
Mina Macarius, Anderson and Krieger Town Council. If I can just add one thing to that. The private sewer that you'll hear about more in Article 36, part of the reason the town is aware of it is part of it what involved public land. It was licensed on public land, and as Mr. Taylor mentioned earlier, was sort of a public-private partnership at the time. The part of what this bylaw does is not only provide a review should a proposal like that come before you, but it also allows for review if a sewer system is proposed entirely on private land and is being hooked up to the town sewer without the town being asked for permission to put it on public ways, as was the case there. So there is sort of a knowledge function that was missing as well.
Thank you. Microphone A.
Liz Allison, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3. I did a little research on other towns that have taken similar steps,
Can you
and
get closer to the microphone a bit? Thank you.
Liz Allison, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3. I did some research on other towns that have taken similar steps and have some information on the septic system, not the private sewer system, where they assess the homeowners for the cost of tying in from septic into the public sewer system. The costs were entirely paid by the homeowners and averaged $62,000 per homeowner. The relevance of that is just, it gives, if we've got 100 homeowners on septic, we're talking about $6 or $7 million in costs potentially. And as others have said, I'm uncomfortable with the notion that we're saying we now have the framework to do this without any sense of the likely costs, and saying we can put it into the water and sewer rates would just mean that we'll collect in water and sewer rather than taxes, but it's still an additional burden on residents. So my question is, do you have any order of magnitude estimate of what the costs of this would be?
Mr. Marcotte.
Jay Marcotte, DPW Director. For the individual resident that needs to or would be needing to hook up to the private or public, the cost would be on the private resident to get the pump and the line and the lateral and all that stuff to tie into either the private or for in our case to the public line. That's on the resident from the dwelling to the main. That's how I explain it. The overall cost of the system, we're still waiting for the appraisal on that, if that was your question that you were asking. Yeah.
Thank you. We go online to Zheng Yue, then back to B, then back online to Travis Frank and Ji-Yun Wang. Zheng Yue?
Yeah. Hi, Zheng Yue, Precinct 3, School Committee, Comprehensive Capital Budget Committee. First question I have is, for those residents that's connected to a private line right now, do they pay a sewer fee?
Jay
Mr.
Marcotte,
Marcotte?
DPW Director. Yes, they do.
Okay. And the second question I
Identify
have.
yourself again,
Oh,
please.
sorry, Zheng Yue, Precinct 3. My second question is, when we, without this bylaw, do we have any way to control our sewage line or purchase or make acquisition or connection to other private? Do we have any control on, our sewage system that way without the bylaw?
Mr. Marcotte, or?
Jay Marcotte, DPW Director. No, there wouldn't be any. I'm sorry, just can you clarify that question?
So what are the risks for us to take on if we don't have this bylaw, in other words?
Mr. Marcotte?
Jay Marcotte, DPW Director. Right now, there's no risk, and the system's hooked up to us already. It's just when the privates hook up to, I keep saying private one. The resident hooks up to the private that's already hooked up to our main system, so there's virtually like no risk to the public system. It's like if there's a breach or if there's any type of leakage, that's the only risk.
I guess that's not the question I'm trying to ask. Without the bylaw, without the.
Can you identify yourself? And I believe Ms. Barbarian
Sure.
is at the lectern if you want to let her respond. John?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. Ms. Barbarian?
Carol Barbarian, member of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 7. There's no standard at this time, so this gives us framework for a lot of what I believe you're asking about.
Thank you. I would support this because I believe having a standard is important and being able to take better control of our health and our sewer system, our health standard, our sewage rate across the board is important. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone B.
Mark Kagan, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 8. I wanted to address several comments made by other town meeting members, specifically Town Meeting Member Olson, that the Warrant Committee was not asked to discuss this, was not asked to vote on this. That's not true. We, in fact, had about an hour-long discussion on this topic. You would see it if you watch the most recent Warrant Committee meeting. And after about an hour-long discussion, we decided that the framework itself does not have any fiscal impact in itself. It's the additional appropriations that may come as the result of this framework, which will come as a separate motions, including Article 36 that's coming after this, that have the fiscal impact. So I just want to stress that we have discussed it in detail to determine whether there was any fiscal impact of this motion in particular and come to a decision that it does not. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go online to Travis Frank and then back to B. I would note that Chris Doyle has her hand up on.
Hello. I think the previous speaker is good because I generally am supportive of this. Again, it's a framework, and I want to just
yourself,
clarify.
please.
I think it was town council, but it doesn't.
Travis,
anyone can speak to this.
Travis, can you identify
if there
yourself?
is fiscal impact of any of
the perils of Zoom? Can you identify yourself, please, before speaking? Can you hear me? Mr. Frank?
Hi, I have unmuted. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Apparently not. All right, Chris Doyle has a point of order. Ms. Doyle?
Hi, Chris Doyle, Precinct 6, Chair of the Capital Committee. The last comment was inaccurate. Ms. Olson had said that the Capital Committee did not get to review this, which is accurate. We were not given it. We asked for information. We did not get information. We did not review it. She did not reference the Warrant Committee, which it sounds like the gentleman is on the Warrant Committee. It sounds like they did review it, but the Capital Committee did not have information and did not review it.
Thank you. Mr. Frank, can you hear me now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, can you identify yourself and please? go ahead.
Apologies. I don't know what
No
happened.
problem.
Travis Frank, Precinct 5. If you heard me, sorry if I'm repeating before, but the previous speaker was useful in the fact that my understanding, and whether it was town council or another speaker earlier tonight, said that this framework that we're approving is, would give some ability to people to enter and consider acquiring private systems, but any appropriation to do that, so the cost to the town would come basically back before town meeting, and we would be able to discuss it and authorize it and whether there's risk, much like as another prior speaker said about private roads and similar requirements. So I do understand the concern about the risk and the quality of these systems, but my understanding is that this is allowing for a framework to consider acquiring systems, but all of those would still come back before town meeting, which we could vote down if it's too risky. Could someone just confirm my understanding?
Chair Taylor.
Matt Taylor, Chair of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member at Large. The bylaw, the article in front of you gives the Select Board the authority to, but not require the town to take easements or acquire these sewer systems, but it does not appropriate funds to do so. So if the town needed funds to acquire such a system, it would have to come back to town meeting for an appropriation or
so that's a yes.
Suitable source of funds.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Jean Wong took her hand down, so we're back to microphone B.
Anne Marie Lambert, Precinct 2. I wanted to reiterate my support after all these comments. I was one of the first people to come up, and I've listened to all the thoughtful reviews. I think, first of all, I think that I miss Glenn Clancy a lot.
We all do.
But I have a great deal of trust and admiration for Jay Marcotte. And I have little doubt that this select board or future select boards or this DPW or future DPWs would enter into an agreement that would waste the town's resources. They would be looking at the risks to the town. These are the people who have leapt in on a Thanksgiving Day to mitigate risks that they were not responsible for in a legalistic sort of way, except through the Clean Water Act, which is being gutted every minute. So out of my trust for the people involved, I think having a structure and a framework, I'm not worried about them not keeping both the cost in money in mind and the cost in pollution in mind. We have children who are right next to our polluted water bodies. We don't know why they're polluted. We keep trying to figure it out. And this will give us a way to do that. And I'm sure they'll do it in the most fiscally responsible way. So please vote yes for this article. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone B. And then on line, we've got Cabell Ames.
Hi, this is John Kuderbach, Precinct 7. I had a question because earlier I thought I heard that if the town or if the DPW had budget already, that they didn't need new appropriations to be able to acquire things if there was already budget left over. Is that accurate?
Town Council.
Mina Macarius, Anderson Krieger, Town Council. Yes, so the bylaw says that that the select board can acquire subject to available appropriations. So if there's a larger budget item in 1 year, for instance, that allows for that, that could be used. It would still need appraisal. It would still need to be taken at the appropriate value, but that's right.
All right, so
you identify yourself, please.
John Kuderbach, Precinct 7. So there wouldn't necessarily always be coming back to town meeting to get an additional appropriation before acquisition was made.
Town Council.
Mina Macarius, Anderson Krieger, Town Council. That's correct, but the appropriation for the budget would have to be there beforehand. That's right.
Absolutely. And then my second question was, do we know, I believe the question that, oh, sorry, John Kuderbach, Town Precinct 7. Abercrombie had made a question that how many homes were serviced by private sewers. Do we know how many private sewer systems there are?
Mr. Marcotte?
Jay Marcotte, DPW Director. Jay Marcotte, DPW Director, one that we know of.
So there's John Kuderbach, Precinct 7. There's just one private sewer that we're talking about, and we're not just going to make a motion to acquire that one.
Well, we're talking about,
I'm sorry, this is my third
35
question
right
though,
now.
too. So
We're-
if the moderator will allow it.
Just
Town Council?
Mina Macarius, Anderson Krieger, Town Council. We are only aware of one today. That is the subject of Article 36, so I'll leave that. This is a belt and suspenders approach to Articles 35 and 36 do have some connection. The power to do the acquisition comes under the bylaw. The actual acquisition in this case will come under Article 36. Both were placed there because, as was mentioned earlier, this is an active litigation. It has not been a friendly dispute. There is no negotiation over the amount, just to put that to bed so far. And so the point here is to have both the authority and the ability to acquire under the next article.
Thank you. Online next, we got Cabell Eames. After that, we're going to go online to Adriana Poole and then to B.
Cabell Eames, Precinct 6. I move to call the question.
Question has been called. We have one person online in the room, one person online on Zoom. I need a second. And we have a second. So this is a not debatable motion. It's a 2/3 vote. When you're ready, Mr. Haskell, we can open the voting. Okay, so the voting is open, so please cast your vote. This is, remember, press 1 if you're in favor of terminating debate under Article 35, 2 if you're opposed to terminating debate, and 3 to abstain. If you have trouble, you need to cast emergency vote, make your way to a microphone, or Meg can come and bring a microphone to you, and I will recognize you at the time. Likewise, if you're joining on Zoom, you can raise your Zoom hand to be recognized for an emergency vote. Again, this is to terminate debate on Article 35. Ten seconds. Okay, close the voting. Are there any emergency votes? Linda Levenshire is online. Linda Levenshire, do you have a?
Oh, yes, thank you.
That's a yes, okay. Ted Dukas?
Ted Dukas, Precinct 6, I vote yes.
Thank you. Amy Kirsch online?
Yes, I vote yes.
Thank you, yes. Any other emergency votes?
It's weird.
Marcy Hirsch? Marcy Hirsch on Zoom.
I vote yes.
Yes, Peter Magny on Zoom.
I vote yes.
Show
Yes,
coming up.
thank you.
You're watching the WNBA.
Yes, you are.
This is a four-post game show. Next.
Okay, that's it. Emergency vote. All right. Can you show the results, Matt? So that is 183 yes, 27 opposed, 2 abstentions. So the motion to terminate debate passes by 2/3. We're going to scroll the vote. Just for programming, we're going to go next to voting on Article 35 itself. Then we're going to pick a Beagle winner, and then we are done for the night. So thank you. Okay, so now we're going to vote on Article 35 itself. It's Article 35 to amend the general bylaws, the Belmont Common Sewer Bylaw. Please open the voting. Okay, voting is open. Please cast your vote. Remember to press 1 if you are in favor of Article 35, 2 if you're opposed to Article 35, and 3 to abstain. If you have trouble and need to cast an emergency vote, please make your way to one of the microphones, or a microphone will be brought to you, and wait for me to recognize you. Likewise, if you're on Zoom, please raise your Zoom hand for an emergency vote to be recognized. I would note this is a majority vote. Still waiting for Belmont Media. Ten seconds. Okay, and close the voting. Emergency votes. Linda Levenshire on Zoom.
Linda Levenshire, Precinct 2, I vote yes.
Yes, Marcy Hirsch on Zoom. Marcy Hirsch.
Precinct 6, I vote yes.
Marcy Hirsch votes yes. Ted Dukas.
Ted Dukas, Precinct 6, I vote yes.
It's yes. I see no other emergency votes. We can show the results. Okay, so that is 189 in favor, 25 opposed, 8 abstentions. Article 35 is adopted. So that is the last article for this evening. Elaine Allagood, you have been taking copious track of everybody speaking. Who is going to draw for you to win this fine award? Who's picking it out of the hat? You just give them the hat, Elaine.
Oh, sorry. So, let me first say,
Yeah, well, you have to get to a microphone if you're going to say something. Make it quick.
everyone was very long-winded tonight. So I did catch one young lady whose name is Christy, and I did not get her last name because she spoke so quickly. So Christy, are you in the room now?
Was it Marsh?
It could be.
Is that our winner, Christy Marsh? Okay, Christy Marsh, our winner of the Beagle Time. You want to come on down and grab it? Otherwise, Mr. Taylor, do we have a motion?
Matt Taylor, Chair of the Select Board, Town Meeting Member at Large, move that the annual town meeting be adjourned and continued to 7 p.m. Wednesday, June 3rd, 2026.
I will take unanimous second. I got a second. I'll take unanimous consent for that. So we are adjourned till Wednesday night. See you then.